Chapter 1. On a clear afternoon, I dragged my luggage and stood at the exit of the airport. The wind was blowing messily, and my heart was beating wildly. Sigh. I let out a long sigh. The more I didn't want to, the more I came back. I came back to a city that was about to face a storm. I didn't know how long I had been waiting, but I had already fallen asleep sitting on my luggage. A sudden breaking sound disturbed my sleep. A person got out of the car and slowly walked towards me. "Miss, I'm sorry, but Master and Madam are waiting for you at Zueyin Restaurant." I didn't say anything and got into the car. What I was about to face at Zueyin Restaurant would completely change my life. I was a cold glaze. My father was the president of the Red Minghui, which monopolized half of a city's economy. It could be said that from the day I was born, I was destined to not be an ordinary person. I couldn't live like an ordinary girl, I couldn't have friends, I couldn't enter a school, and I was taught to be heartless. My father said that I was to inherit his achievements and be the successor of the Red Minghui. In 20 years, I transformed from a childish child to the head of the North American Red Minghui branch. My father was very satisfied with my achievements. While I was meticulously managing the branch's business, I was summoned back by my father's urgent call. He didn't say anything, but told me to come back and meet a few people on the other side. The other side that my father was talking about was the Kurosawa, which supported the other half of a city. Although the Kurosawa and our Red Minghui seemed to be harmonious on the surface, the struggle behind the scenes had lasted for several years. The Kurosawa had once stolen the entire entertainment industry from the Red Minghui, and our Red Minghui had also monopolized the food and beverage industry in a city. He didn't know what this sudden meeting meant in this seemingly united stalemate. With all these questions, I settled the branch's affairs and hurried back. I felt that the silence was too frightening. What came next was a storm that would catch everyone off guard. "Miss, we're here." The driver opened the car door, interrupting my thoughts. I got out of the car and walked into the lobby. As soon as he walked through the door, he saw the second master, Uncle Bai. "Ha ha ha, Shaoli, you've grown so big. You're finally back. Hurry up and go upstairs. Everyone's waiting for you." Uncle Bai smiled and walked toward me. "Uncle Bai, long time no see. Good child, let's go up." Uncle White pulled me to the second floor. "Uncle Bai, do you know why Dad called me back?" Unable to hold back my curiosity, I asked. "You'll understand in a moment. Remember, no matter what happens, you can't say anything. Let your father handle everything. If you open your mouth, you'll harm the entire Red Minghui." Uncle Bai's smiling face suddenly became serious. I kept quiet. Uncle Bai's words made my heart tremble. What they were about to face was perhaps an unimaginable disaster. When we reached the door, Uncle Bai helped me straighten my clothes. He patted my head and said gently, "Shaoli, your father is doing this for you. Go in." I let out a long breath, knocked on the door, and pushed it open. Standing at the door, I noticed that there were only 4 people sitting at the table: my father and mother, and the other 2 were a man and a woman who were about the same age as my parents. The 4 of them didn't talk to each other, and the quiet atmosphere made me feel awkward. "Shaoli, you're here. Come sit next to Mom." My mother stood up and waved at me. I walked over and sat next to her. I looked at the 2 people sitting across from me. The woman sitting across from my mother looked a few years younger than my mother. Her skin was bright white, her lips were smiling, and her hair was black and curly. She wore a dark green dress decorated with jadeite. She looked very noble. The man sitting next to her was wearing a black suit. His hair was gray and black with silver streaks. He held a cane in both hands and looked at me with a serious expression. I noticed that there was an empty seat across from me. "Shaoli, you've grown so big. I'm Xiao Fengya, Auntie Xiao. I saw you a long time ago. You were still a child." The woman across from me smiled. "Do you remember Auntie? Auntie used to hold you." I searched my memory, but couldn't remember who she was. I shook my head and looked at my mother. How old was she at that time? She just remembered things. My mother took over. That's right. She was too young at that time. But Shali is so beautiful. I think Kay will like her. Hubby, right? The woman across from me turned and asked the man next to her. The man didn't answer. He turned and looked at his father. Old Lung, Kay will be here soon. Okay. After my father said that, everyone was silent again. The atmosphere returned to the initial awkwardness. My heart was in a mess. Who were these two people? Why did they say they saw me? Why did my father call me here? There was an empty seat across from me. Did someone else come? Was it that Kay? Who was he? While I was in a daze, the door opened. A tall, thin man with a cold expression walked in. Sorry, I'm late. Sit down. The man across from me nodded. He walked to the opposite side of me and sat down. Only then did I notice that he had a black feather tattoo behind his right ear. As expected, he was from Kurosawa. After the dishes were served, all the waiters left the room. The atmosphere was as awkward as ever. I fiddled with the food in my bowl. I won't beat around the bush. I'll make it short. The man across from me looked at my father. Old Lung, there are only two of us in a city. I think you know why we're sitting here today. I tugged at my mother's clothes. Mom, who are they? They are your Uncle Duanmu, Andy Shao, and their son, Duanmu, Quebec. You've seen them once when you were young. So he was the president of Kurosawa, Duanmu Tachio. Little brother, I understand what you're thinking. I have the same idea as you. If this marriage can resolve our past conflicts, then I agree to send Li heir to Duanmu's house. My father replied to Duanmu Tachio. I was stunned. My father wanted me to marry that Duanmu Kay? Why? Just as I was about to speak, Duanmu Kay stood up. Why? What right do you have to control my marriage? I saw my father's face become very serious. Shut up. Since when is it your turn to speak? Duanmu Tachio slammed the table and roared. Xiao Fengya tugged at Duanmu Kay's clothes, hinting for him to sit down. Old Lung, Kay has been spoiled since childhood. Don't argue with him. Little brother, I don't need to tell you the meaning of this marriage. You naturally understand. You decide the date. I'll wait for your news. Let's go. My father and mother stood up and walked out the door. I stood up and bowed to Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengya, then followed them out of the room. Chapter 2. On the way home, my father didn't say a word. After entering the house, he gestured for me to go to the study to talk. My father stood by the window and pondered for a long time. Li heir, do you want to ask me why I arranged your marriage? No, you must have a reason for doing this. Since I was young, you taught me to obey you absolutely. Then you didn't complain? You didn't think about rebelling against my arrangement? My father turned to look at me. Even if my heart was unwilling, I knew that the sacrifice I made would benefit you, our family, and the Red Minghui. In fact, I knew that in front of him, no matter how much I resisted, it would all be futile. He was like a demon in the dark, holding all your weak points. No matter how much you struggled, he wouldn't show any mercy. Perhaps in his eyes, I'm just a handy weapon that he can use to get rid of his dissidents. In the past few years, the conflict between the Red Minghui and the Kurosawa has become more and more intense. Their subordinates gathered together to fight, smashing shops, and these are all trivial matters. One of our subordinates borrowed money from them, and they even used him to steal our internal secrets. Fortunately, we discovered it early. You tell me, how could I not be on guard? If that's the case, then just shed all pretense of cordiality. Why do you still want to arrange marriage? It's not like we're in ancient times selling children. Their power is still a mystery. The marriage between the two families not only can stabilize the stalemate between the two sides, it can also help me obtain a lot of internal information. This is also one of the main reasons why I want you to marry them. Help me investigate their background. Tell me, besides you, who else would be suitable for this role? My father walked over and patted my shoulder. Okay, I understand. The moment I left the study and closed the door, my heart inexplicably hurt. Perhaps in his eyes, I wasn't his daughter, but a trump card. Returning to the bedroom, I collapsed on the sofa, my thoughts a mess. I was going to marry a strange man and enter a strange family. Behind that family was half of a city's Kurosawa. I was going to face a lot of unpredictable dangers. I was going to fight alone, no longer have a family to back me up, and no capable assistance at my disposal. Dang, dang, dang. Is Lee there? Mom's coming in. My mother pushed the door open and entered. Looking at me, she sat down beside me. Child, do you hate your father? I shook my head. Mother rubbed my head affectionately. Arlie Air has grown up. There are many things that you need to face alone. You have sacrificed yourself. Mother knows that you feel wronged in your heart, but you don't want to say it out loud. But which girl doesn't want to find a man she loves to spend the rest of her life with? Silly child, you don't have to shoulder everything alone. You still have us. Feeling the warmth of his mother's palm, compared to the coldness in his heart, this trace of warmth was enough. Don't worry, I won't let you worry. I know what I should do. Looking at his mother's relieved smile, he suddenly felt that everything was worth it. She talked a lot with her mother about the things that happened in America and her plans for the future. Before she knew it, it was already nighttime. You have a new message. A message came from my phone. I picked up the phone. After reading it, I sneered. What's wrong? Mother asked. Nothing, I'm going out. Picking up my coat, I walked out of the house. There was a message from an unknown number on my phone. There were only 6 words. Shallow Bar, Douanemou, Quebec. I was very surprised by Douanemou's actions. Based on my understanding of him, he definitely didn't ask me to meet for a simple chat and wine tasting. Then I have to meet him and see what kind of person he is. Shallow Bar is a highly profitable entertainment place under the Kurosawa. On the surface, it doesn't look any different from a normal bar, but it is rumored that a lot of shady deals are done in private. Douanemou invited me to their place, so they will definitely treat me well. When I reached the bar, I pushed open the door and walked in. A waiter greeted me. Hello, do you have a reservation? I'm looking for Douanemou, Quebec. Miss Lung, please follow me. The waiter led me to a booth in the corner of the bar. There were a total of 5 people sitting in the booth, 3 men and 2 women. The few of them gathered together and chatted while drinking and laughing. Douanemou was sitting in the middle of the booth. The 2 women sat beside him and nestled in his embrace seductively. The 3 of them were chatting and laughing. Oh, isn't this Miss Lung? You took your time. Did you crawl here? Douanemou saw me, and his words were full of sarcasm. What business do you have with me? I ignored his sarcasm and directly asked him why he called me here. I don't have any business with you. Since you don't want to get married, I want to take you out on a date and have some fun with you. Ha. I really didn't want to see Douanemou's evil face. Young Master K, is this the fiancée you were talking about? She's too lousy. She's not worthy of you. A woman nestled in his arms glanced at me. That's right. She's not even as good as us. Young Master K, why don't you marry us too? Another woman echoed with a smile. Douanemou looked at me and sneered. You? Compared to her, you're nothing. How can sluts like you compare to Miss Lung's worth? Right, Lung. Bang. Lee. I walked around the coffee table and grabbed a bottle of wine. I sat in front of Douanemou and looked into his eyes. The distance between us was only 1 centimeter. I could even feel the frequency of his breathing. I opened the bottle and drank the wine in 1 gulp. I wiped the corner of my mouth, looked into his eyes and asked, Tell me, how do you want to compete? Good, very good. Douanemou clapped his hands and looked at me. He used his index finger to lift my face. As expected, a righteous face is much better looking. It's a pity that you have such a beautiful face. If you weren't a red Minghui, I might not hate you so much. Since you're so tactful, then I won't let you lose too badly. Do you know Killer? I shook off his hand and stood up. Anything is fine. Don't be so sure about winning or losing. Okay, don't say it so early. If you lose, then take a nude selfie and post it online with the caption, I, Cold Glaze, am a slut fed by Douanemou, Quebec. How about that? I could feel Duan Mukei's eyes were about to swallow me up. It was very uncomfortable. What if you lose? I asked. Duan Mukei stood up. Ridiculous, how can I lose? Okay, if I lose, I'll ask my father to cancel the engagement and sign a contract with your Red Minghui. The contract will be as effective as the engagement. How about it? You don't have to marry me to get the result you want. Isn't that the result you want? Chapter 3. I'm sorry, but I don't have any interest in this so-called deal. If you lose, then chop off your hands and feed them to the dogs, I coldly replied. Ha ha ha. All right, then it's decided. Don't go back on your word if you lose. Duan Mukei's words were filled with shock. He probably didn't expect me to be such a cold-blooded person. The engagement wasn't important anymore. What was important was that I used the identity of Duan Mukei's wife to fight my way into the Kurosawa. I will become the Red Minghui's most useful weapon against the Kurosawa. The girl sitting to Duan Mukei's left said, Young Master K, isn't this bet a bit too much? What if we lose? With a slap, Duan Mukei heavily slapped the woman's face. She fell to the ground. Another woman ran over to help her up and left with her tail between her legs. Duan Mukei sat on the sofa and pointed to the person next to him. You, tell her the rules of killer. Also, go tell the waiter to prepare for a drinking contest. If we're going to play, then let's play big. The so-called killer is that each person has 18 different cocktails. Within a set amount of time, the first person to drink all 18 cocktails will win. These 18 cocktails are all extremely strong alcohol. From the first drink, rebirth, to the last drink, reincarnation, every step forward is a deep tempering of the soul. Rumor has it that the person who first developed killer was a murderer with more than 20 lives on his back. When he was waiting for death, he created killer. Every drink symbolizes a stage of self. Killer symbolizes from life to death. In the entire A city, there are very few people who can drink reincarnation. Duan Mukei put out such a strong lineup. He must have made ample preparations. And I'm not good at drinking wine. I just drank a bottle, and my head was already starting to feel dizzy. But I can't admit defeat. I have to stake my life on this bet. In the middle of the bar's hall was a stage. A few waiters were busying themselves in an orderly manner. Some of the customers who were drinking in the bar also gathered around the stage. I leaned against a pillar at the side and calmed myself down. You don't have to be so stubborn. What good will it do you to go against him? A voice came from beside me. I turned around and saw a handsome man standing next to me, looking at the stage. He was of average height, dressed simply in a white shirt, and had delicate facial features. If it wasn't for his Adam's apple, anyone would have thought that he was a girl. I turned my head and did not speak. Whatever. It's too late to say anything now. Here's my business card. If you need anything, you can look for me. He handed over a business card. No thanks. I didn't reach out to take it. I put it here. He placed his business card on the coffee table across from me. Please go back and say hello to Uncle Lung for me. I'll visit him when I have time. Turning around, he walked deeper into the bar. Does he know my father? Did my father send him to help me? I picked up the business card on the coffee table. In the middle of the card was written, Han Hao, Black Viper Group's product director. So he's from the Kurosawa. But why is he pretending to be a good person to help me? Is he close to my father? Could it be another trap set by Duan Mukei? Everybody, welcome to Shallow Bar. Today, we will be hosting the ultimate showdown of Killer. As everyone knows, Killer is a classic of our bar's drinking competition. Tonight, we are fortunate to be able to see such an exciting showdown. So, who will we be facing today? First, let us give a round of applause. Let us welcome Black Viper Duan Mukei, Young Master K. The lights gathered in the middle of the stage. The host had already announced that the showdown was about to begin. Young Master K. Young Master K. Young Master K. The audience below the stage loudly called out to Duan Mu Quebec, it's not too late to give up. Duan Mukei walked past me and gave me a look of disdain. He walked straight to the middle of the stage. The audience below was already boiling with excitement. Duanmuke stood on the stage and took the microphone from the host. Thank you everyone for coming to watch this showdown. Although this showdown is my personal grudge, I really don't mind if everyone is here to witness my victory. Young Master K is awesome. Young Master K is the best. Many girls below the stage screamed. The host continued, next, let us welcome the challenger, Cold Glaze. I walked onto the stage. The audience below the stage sighed. Today's showdown, the stakes are extremely high. I don't know how much confidence the challenger has. If Cold Glaze loses, she will take a nude selfie and post it on social media with the caption, I, Cold Glaze, am a slut fed by Duanmu, Quebec. If young Master Duanmu loses, she will chop off her own hands. My God, isn't the stakes too high? This is too unfair to young Master Duanmu. We don't want young Master Duanmu to lose. Hey, the girl on the stage, don't fight with young Master Quebec. Come down and sleep with us for a few days. You want this kind of person? Aren't you afraid of getting into trouble? A few scumbags below the stage whistled provocatively. At this moment, Duanmuke walked to the front of the stage and casually took a bottle of wine from the stage and threw it at them. The bottle fell to the ground, and the wine spilled all over the floor. Glass shards were scattered everywhere. A few people were so frightened that they sat on the ground. Some people covered their faces, and blood could be seen flowing out from between their fingers. Suddenly, the audience below the stage became silent. Duanmuke grabbed the microphone and squatted on the side of the stage. In any case, she's going to be my Duanmuke's wife. If you want to sleep with her, it's not your turn. Since you want to be cheap, why don't I sell you guys off to be ducks? Either shut up and watch the show, or leave with your tails between your legs. The scumbags were so scared that they didn't dare to say anything and hid to the side. Duanmuke turned around and looked at me. Then, he threw the microphone to the host. I wasn't sure if he was trying to help me or himself. The host took the microphone. The rules of the duel are very simple. The 2 rows of wine that you're looking at right now, in 5 minutes, the winner will be the one who drinks all of them in the shortest time possible. Now, let's invite the 2 of you to stand in your designated positions and prepare for the duel. I stood at one end of the table. Duanmuke stood across from me and looked at me. This is the last time. If you want to give up, it's not too late. I can consider letting you go. At least you won't lose so badly. I glanced below the stage. My gaze fell on the man called Han, how standing in the corner of the bar. I turned around and looked at Duanmu, Quebec. Let's start. The host stood between us. Are you ready? We both nodded. Okay, let's count down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's start. After the host said start, I picked up the first glass of wine and drank it in one gulp. The wine slid down my throat and I felt like my mouth was going to explode. I leaned against the table and covered my mouth to cough. The host asked me, are you okay? Do you want to admit defeat? I looked at Duanmuke, who had already started drinking his 3rd glass. The audience below the stage was cheering for him. I shook my head and picked up the 2nd glass and drank it in one gulp. Chapter 4. The 3rd glass, the 4th glass, the 5th glass. I felt like the world was spinning, my stomach was churning, and my throat was spitting fire. Every glass had a different taste, and I didn't have time to savor the taste of the wine. I only knew that the wine was as strong as the summer afternoon sun, and I felt like I was on fire. I held onto the table, wiped my mouth, and picked up the 9th glass. I glanced at Duanmuke, who was opposite me, and he wasn't any better than me. He held onto the table and drank the 8th glass in one gulp, then threw the glass to the side. The stage was littered with our broken glasses, and with the reflection of the lights, the sky darkened. Duanmuke stared at me. How about it? Do you want to continue? Or admit defeat? We're only halfway through. I tilted my head back and swallowed the 9th glass. I threw the glass to the side and forced myself to say, no need. All right, I'll accompany you to the end. Duanmu stared at me and drank the 9th glass, the 10th glass, the 11th glass, the 12th glass. One glass after another, I felt like I couldn't keep my eyes open, and my whole body was weak. I collapsed on the floor, my right hand holding onto the edge of the table, and my left hand reaching for the glass. Then I brought it to my mouth and poured it into my mouth. Every time I swallowed a mouthful, it felt like my whole body was being pricked with needles. My legs gradually went numb, and my whole body became cold. As for the audience, who were cheering below the stage, they wouldn't be able to feel this kind of heart-wrenching pain. Even if they were usually afraid of our identities and our methods, from the moment we stood on the stage, we were like actors, and they were like audience members. The conflict between Duanmu and I, in their eyes, was just a part of the stage play. Halfway through the competition, the hand that was holding the wine glass gradually slowed down. I no longer drank the wine in one gulp. Instead, it was like I was drinking medicine. I slowly swallowed mouthful after mouthful. My entire body was leaning against the table to support myself. I forced myself to raise my head. Duanmu was also leaning against the table. His movements gradually slowed down. Every time he took a sip, his brows would furrow. It seemed that he had reached his limit. The audience was in an uproar, and I could no longer hear what the people below were shouting. The only thing that kept me from falling was that I had to win. Whether or not I could chop off Duanmu hand was no longer important. The current me didn't have any strength to resist. Only by winning would I be able to fall and have a moment of rest. At this time, there were only 2 cups of samsara left on the table. One for Duanmu and the other for me. Samsara. Is it true that after drinking this cup of wine, I can be reincarnated? In that case, I hope that in the next life, I can be an ordinary person, do what I want to do, and marry the person I like. I forced myself to stand up and grab the cup of wine. Although I felt that I couldn't swallow anything else, but in order to win against him, in order to preserve my dignity, I had to force myself to drink it. I picked the cup and drank it in one gulp. Then, I slammed the cup to the ground. What happened? 2 people at the same time? No way. How could there be such a coincidence? The audience's voices could be heard from the stage. Could it be that I didn't win, but I was the one who smashed the cup first? Duanmu won? I looked at Duanmu Quebec. He was also leaning against the table and looking at me. It turned out that when I smashed the wine cup, Duanmu also drank the last cup of wine and smashed the cup. Both of our cups fell to the ground at the same time. It was impossible to tell who came first. The host acted as if it was the first time he had encountered such a situation. He stood there, not knowing what to do. The audience sighed, but no one dared to stand up to determine who won and who lost. I felt dizzy. I sat on the ground, leaning against the table. My consciousness was getting fainter and fainter. At this time, I felt someone run to my side, and a coat was draped over my shoulders. I forced myself to open my eyes and saw a delicate face. Han Hao helped me tidy up my dress and helped me stand up. My legs went soft, and I almost fell again. Han Hao took the opportunity to pull me into his arms. I was paralyzed in his arms. His body exuded a faint fragrance that made me feel very comfortable. I gradually closed my eyes and wanted to fall asleep just like that. Han Hao let her go. I heard Duanmu ear-piercing voice. I forced myself to open my eyes. He was already in front of me. He grabbed my arm and pulled me into his arms. I lifted my head and saw him glaring at Han Hao. I didn't mean anything else. Han Hao tried to help me tidy up the coat that had slipped off. Duanmu raised his hand and flung the coat that was draped over me at Han Hao. Han Hao, don't meddle in other people's business. She asked for it. Duanmu pulled my arm and turned around to walk off the stage. I struggled, but Duanmu grip was very tight. My entire wrist was red from his grip. I used the last of my strength to push Duanmu away. He lost his balance and took 2 steps back. I turned and grabbed Han Hao's hand. My head went dizzy, and I fell again. Han Hao hugged me, and I held on to Han Hao's arm tightly. I said weakly, "Take me away." Then I lost consciousness. I didn't know how long I was in a daze, but I gradually opened my eyes. My head hurt so much that it felt like it was going to explode. I looked around. It was a familiar room with familiar decorations. I was already home. Just then, my mother pushed the door open. Seeing that I was about to sit up, she quickly ran over to help me up. She poured me a glass of water and handed it to me. "You're awake. You scared your mother." My mother touched my forehead. "It's okay, Mom. How did I get back?" "When I was waiting for you at home, someone knocked on the door. Auntie Wong told me that you were back and that there was a boy with you. I ran over and saw that it was Han Hao. I saw that he was holding you. You were unconscious in his arms, and you reeked of alcohol. I quickly asked him to bring you to your room. So it was Han Hao who brought me back. It seemed that he was a reliable person." "Mom, did he leave?" "I don't think so. After he settled you down, he went downstairs to the study to find your father." "Huh? He knows my father?" "His father and your father are good friends, but they rarely interact. His family has always had business dealings with Duanmukei's family." As expected, he was Kurosawa. Since his father and my father were good friends, he wouldn't torture me like Duanmukei did. I could even trust him. I got off the bed and put on a jacket. When I looked up, I saw that Han Hao had draped the jacket over my shoulders. I picked it up. "Mom, I'm going downstairs to take a look." "Go." I walked to the study. The door was half open. Through the crack, I saw Han Hao sitting across from my father. The two of them were talking and laughing. The atmosphere was harmonious. I knocked on the door. "Dad, it's me." Chapter 5. Come in. I pushed the door open. Han Hao turned around and saw me. He stood up and walked toward me. He touched my forehead with his hand. "How are you? Are you feeling better? Thank goodness you don't have a fever. When I brought you back, your face was very hot. Thank goodness you didn't catch a cold." Han Hao's hand was very warm. I didn't shake off his hand. "Oh, I'm fine. Li Er, this is Han Hao. His father is my friend. Although they live in Kurosawa, they can be considered old friends of mine. You don't have to be so hostile. Besides, Hao Er helped you before." My father sensed my doubts. It turned out that while I was asleep, Han Hao had already told my father everything that had happened at Shallow Bar. "Uncle Lung, you're joking. This is what I should do. It's getting late. I should go back." Han Hao glanced at his watch and turned to look at me. "How about I ask Xiao Li to walk me to the door?" Okay. When you have time, you must bring your parents over to play." Han Hao smiled and nodded. Then he pulled me out. The night wind was still a little cold. I couldn't help but pull on my jacket. Han Hao walked silently beside me. I looked at him sideways. I didn't know if it was because of the alcohol or the effect of the moonlight, but I suddenly felt that Han Hao's delicate face was very beautiful. Han Hao suddenly turned his head. When he saw my infatuated expression, I immediately turned my head away. "What are you looking at?" Han Hao asked with a smile. "The moon is really beautiful today." I randomly made up an excuse. "That's true. Yuan. I suddenly stopped and handed his jacket to him. "This is your jacket. Thank you for helping me out. Also, thank you for taking me home." He took the jacket and looked at it. He lowered his head to look at me and said, "Miss Lung, this jacket reeks of your alcohol. Don't you plan to wash it and then return it to me?" My face started to burn when I heard what he said. I reached out to grab my clothes back, but I hadn't expected him to be so strong. The inertia from the rebound made me fall into his arms. In an instant, I felt the air around us freeze. I leaned against Han Hao's chest quietly. I could feel his heartbeat. It was slow but strong. I could smell the faint fragrance of his body. Han Hao didn't push me away. We just stood there, leaning against each other. A gust of wind blew past, and I subconsciously leaned into his embrace. Han Hao supported my head with one hand and hugged my waist tightly with the other. He stroked my long hair lovingly. I lifted my head from his embrace and looked into his clear eyes. I saw my own reflection in his eyes. At that moment, I suddenly felt that I might have feelings for him. He held my face in his hands and looked into my eyes. I didn't know what he was thinking. His face slowly moved closer to me. I gradually felt his breath. He's not going to kiss me, is he? My heart was in a mess, but I didn't push him away. His face was getting closer and closer. I closed my eyes. Just then, Han Hao suddenly pushed me away and turned to the other side. I opened my eyes and looked at his back. I'm sorry, Xiaoli. I didn't do it on purpose. Han Hao's back was still facing me. He didn't turn around. It's nothing. I felt strangely disappointed. I didn't even know why I was disappointed. Han Hao suddenly turned around and hugged me tightly. Before I could react, his lips were deeply pressed against mine. The wind blew quietly. I couldn't hear any sound. He stopped and held my face. His eyes were full of love. I felt that he had a lot to say to me. However, he didn't say a word. He turned around and disappeared at the end of the street. Time flies. Ever since that day, I haven't seen Han Hao again. Duanmu's family had set the wedding date for a month later, in late summer and early autumn. The whole family was nervously and orderly preparing for the wedding. I was very calm about this marriage that I didn't have any expectations for. Duanmu K and I's wedding photo shoot went smoothly. Maybe it was because of what happened at the bar. He seemed to be like me. He didn't resist this marriage contract that he couldn't resist. He chose to let nature take its course. Or maybe he was waiting for an opportunity to change everything. Every time I walked past the corner of the stairs, I could see Duanmu K and my wedding photo. That stiff style and that unnatural smile were particularly dazzling. When I was alone at night, I would quietly look at Han Hao's business card. I would recall that night, his kiss, his taste, and his eyes. If there was really love at first sight in this world, then I would definitely admit that the person I liked was him. Sometimes I would think how great it would be if Han Hao and Duanmu K swapped identities. At the very least, I could marry someone I liked, and not someone who shared a bed with a different dream because of any conflict of interest. I put Han Hao's business card at the bottom of my jewelry box. For the sake of Red Minghui, for my father, I decided to bury this feeling deep in my heart. The day of my wedding with Duanmu K had finally arrived. My father and some of the seniors of Red Minghui were receiving guests in the living room. I got up early to freshen up and put on my white wedding dress. My mother carefully tidied my hair. I suddenly felt that she had aged a lot overnight. I looked at myself in the mirror. They say that women are most beautiful on their wedding day. Who wouldn't want to show their most beautiful side to the person they love, and not to their enemies? My mother stroked my hair. Li Er is finally getting married today. Her eyes were filled with tears. Mom, I will be fine. I held my mother's hand and comforted her. She was probably the person who didn't want me to marry. At this time, Andy Wong stood at the door and knocked. Madam, Miss, Duanmu K's family is here to pick you up. My mother looked at me and patted my shoulder. I will go down and greet them. You can come down when you are ready. She turned and left with Andy Wong. I was the only one left in the room. I took out Han Hao's business card from the jewelry box and gently stroked his name. I really hoped to see him one more time before I went to Duanmu K's house. Even though I had his business card and his contact information, I didn't have the courage to call him. I also didn't know what to say if I called him. Helplessly, I put the business card back. I opened the door and walked out. I chose to endure everything that was about to happen. I walked to the top of the stairs and looked down. The large living room was already filled with people. In the middle of the crowd, I saw Duanmu, Quebec. He was holding a bouquet of roses in his hand. He was wearing a pure black suit that highlighted his figure. With his trademark facial features, he smiled and chatted with the people around him. Looking at it this way, Duanmu K's sunny side was still very handsome. If he wasn't so bad, he should be someone worth relying on. Chapter 6. The bride is here. I don't know who shouted, but everyone's eyes fell on me. Duanmuke looked at me and slowly walked towards me. When he reached me, he knelt down on one knee and handed me a bouquet of flowers. I took the bouquet, and he stood up. He pulled my hand onto his arm and stood beside me. "You're very beautiful today." Duanmuke lowered his head and whispered into my ear, "However, Miss Lung, you have to be careful. Don't make a fool of yourself today. It wouldn't be good if someone as beautiful as you embarrass yourself, right?" Duanmuke looked at me with an evil smile. "The one who should be careful is you." I glared at him and stepped on his right foot with my left foot. The thin high heels dug into his leather shoes, causing Duanmuke's expression to turn hideous from the pain. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. He couldn't help but crouch down. I ignored him and walked downstairs. When he saw that I was already walking downstairs, he immediately stood up and ran to my side. He placed my hand on his arm. We greeted our friends and relatives with fake smiles and got into the wedding car. On the way to the wedding venue, Duanmuke and I didn't say a word. When I arrived at my destination, there was still some time before the wedding. I walked around the venue aimlessly, dragging my long dress behind me. The entire venue was like a meeting of the underworld. Half of them were people from the Red Tea Society that I was familiar with, and the other half were people from the Black Nightmare Society that I had met for the first time. Glancing around, I inadvertently saw a tall boy standing at the back of the venue. He was pointing at a few people and saying something. His back was very similar to the person who had appeared in my mind before. I walked up to him and tapped his shoulder lightly. The moment he turned his head, my heart skipped a beat. It was still that delicate face and the same pair of clear eyes. Han Hao turned and saw me. His eyes were filled with surprise at first, but then they became very gentle. I looked into his eyes, and my heart was filled with emotions. "While I was thinking about you, did you also think about me? Congratulations." After a long pause, Han Hao finally opened his mouth to say these 3 words. I instantly woke up from my dream. "Thank you." Longing couldn't be hidden. No matter how deeply you hid it, once it touched the bottom of your heart, there would be all kinds of feelings. After seeing Han Hao, my heart calmed down a lot. He was standing at a place that I wanted to touch but couldn't reach. Han Hao's gaze and smile were like rays of gentle sunlight that warmed my cold heart. "Miss Cold Glaze, Miss Cold Glaze, please come to the greenhouse when you hear the broadcast." The broadcast was calling my name. "It's about to start. Hurry up and get ready." Han Hao looked down at his watch and didn't look at me. "Okay." I turned and walked backstage. The distance between Han Hao and me was getting farther and farther. I stood in the greenhouse, waiting for the countdown to the wedding. The other end of the red carpet was connected to the stage. Duanmuke stood at the side of the stage with a serious expression. All the relatives and friends had already taken their seats. Han Hao sat at a table on the Kurosawa side. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The wedding officially began. After the host gave a simple opening speech, Duanmuke stood in the middle of the stage. The audience applauded. His reputation in the Kurosawa couldn't be underestimated. Although Duanmutachio was the boss of the Kurosawa and Duanmuke was his son, it was rumored that Duanmuke didn't completely rely on his father's influence. Instead, he used his own methods to accumulate popularity in the Kurosawa. A portion of people had already volunteered to follow him. The wedding went according to the prearranged procedure. It went on in an orderly manner until we raised our glasses and drank together. The entire venue boiled over again. After the wedding, it was the signing ceremony for the marriage contract agreement. My father and Duanmu Lixiong signed the agreement that they had previously discussed on the spot. According to the agreement, the Red Tea Society and the Black Nightmare Society would maintain a state of peace from the moment the agreement was signed. If either party broke this state, they would have to give up 30% of their own shares. If either side gave up on the marriage and went through the relevant procedures to dissolve the marriage, the agreement would immediately become null and void. The agreement was like 2 sets of shackles. It didn't bind our respective forces. Instead, it sacrificed Duanmuke and I in exchange for a win-win situation for both forces. Then, a few business agreements were signed. Duanmuke's parents and my parents were smiling like flowers. I think this was the situation they wanted the most. After the wedding ceremony, it was time for the wedding banquet. According to the rules, Duanmuke and I had to change and go downstage to toast with our friends and family. When I went backstage, I grabbed the clothes rack and didn't know what to change into to toast. At this time, Duanmuke walked up to me. He took a pink strapless gown from the rack and handed it to me. I held the gown and looked at him. "You want to wear this?" "Yes." He turned and walked out. "Isn't it too long?" I muttered softly. Duanmuke turned and glanced at me. Then he walked out. I thought for a moment. Forget it. Since he picked it, I'll wear it. After changing, I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked pretty good. I thought Duanmuke had good taste. The gown was a little too big, but it didn't affect anything. I just had to be careful. I tidied up the hem of my dress and walked out with a glass of wine. Duanmuke was standing at the door. I tapped his arm. He turned and looked at me. He looked me up and down. "Let's go." I followed him and started to toast table after table. Halfway through the toast, Duanmuke's face became redder and redder. I didn't know if he was really stupid or just pretending to be stupid. When someone toasted him, he drank a glass. After half of the banquet, he drank a lot. I held his arm. No matter how much I hated him, I had to continue acting. At this time, we arrived at a table on the Kurosawa side. The people at the table stood up. Someone next to me tapped my shoulder. Then, I saw that the person standing next to me was Han Hao. I was so focused on supporting Duanmuke that I didn't see him. It turned out that we had arrived at his table. Han Hao smiled at me. "Haha, so you guys are sitting here. I was wondering why I didn't see you for so long." Duanmuke shook off my arm and put it on the shoulder of the guy next to him. "Duanmuke, congratulations. You entered the tomb of marriage earlier than us. Brat, you're good." The guy Duanmuke put his arm on laughed. "Don't laugh at me. Come, let me introduce you. This is your future sister-in-law, Cold Glaze." Duanmuke's voice suddenly changed. "Let me tell you a secret. She's the future head of the Red Minghui. She's not to be trifled with." You drank too much. Han Hao walked around me to support Duanmu Quebec. I knew he was helping me out. Chapter 7. Let go of me, Han Hao. I'm not drunk. Duanmuke flung Han Hao's hand away. Perhaps he had used too much force, but Han Hao lost his balance and took 2 steps back. He stepped on the hem of my dress, and I instinctively dodged. As a result, my dress slipped down. I held the wine glass in one hand, and my other hand quickly covered my chest. Although it didn't fall completely, the top half of my chest was completely exposed. Just as I was about to lose my grip, Han Hao suddenly turned around and hugged me. He used his body to shield me from the awkward situation. The audience gasped. Han Hao quickly took off his jacket and put it on me. He buttoned it up, and I stood there dumbly. Han Hao. Duanmuke pushed Han Hao's shoulder. Han Hao looked at him, but didn't say anything. He turned around and left the venue. Just like last time, he didn't say a word and left quietly. I glared at Duanmuke fiercely and walked backstage. He didn't say a word and followed me into the dressing room backstage. Duanmuke turned around and closed the door. I turned around and looked at him. I reached out and slapped his face. He didn't have time to dodge, and the slap landed heavily on his face. Duanmuke covered his face and looked at me. He seemed to be more sober than before. I walked up to him and grabbed his collar. Duanmuke, don't go overboard. I can tolerate you once or twice, but that doesn't mean I have a good temper. If it wasn't for my father, I would have killed you long ago. I pushed him hard, and he took 2 steps back. He covered his face and laughed. What are you laughing at? You finally revealed your true nature. Since you're so dissatisfied with me, why don't you just say it? He approached me slowly, and I retreated step by step until I reached the wall. He propped his hand against the wall and looked at me. Lung Yuli, I regret it now. In the past, I tortured you to make you give up on the engagement. Since you are not afraid of death, I will torture you even more. I gave him another slap. He sneered and pressed me against the wall. He began to tear off my dress. His mouth kissed my neck. I struggled with all my might, but he held my hand with one hand and my waist with the other. No matter how strong I was, I couldn't break free from him. He looked at me. We are already married. You are mine. I can do whatever I want. You can't escape. Then, his lips covered mine. My eyes widened in shock, and I couldn't move my body. To be honest, I enjoyed Duanmukei's kiss. He pressed me against the wall with one hand and held my waist with the other. His soft lips had a sweet taste. I closed my eyes. Although my heart was against it, my body was honest. Seeing that I gradually let down my guard, his hand that was wrapped around my waist slid to my lower abdomen bit by bit. Then, he slowly moved upwards. Just when he was about to reach my lower abdomen, the room door suddenly opened. Duanmukei quickly jumped to my side. His collar was no longer as flat because of my tugging, and his hair was messy, especially after the 2 slaps that I rewarded him. The left side of his face was completely red. I wasn't any better. Because of my struggle with him, my dress was messy, my hair was messy, and it was draped over my shoulders. My face was red too. The 2 of us looked like 2 people who had been caught in bed. We didn't know what to do as we stood there and looked at the group of people at the door. The people who opened the door were a few Kurosawa men. When they saw Duanmukei and I, they were stunned for a few seconds. Then they immediately understood. However, they didn't have any intention of leaving. What do you want? Duanmukei adjusted his collar and broke the awkward situation. It's nothing. Young Master Quebec Master just asked us to come and see if you and Miss Long are here. Now that you're done, can you leave? I didn't know if it was an illusion or not, but I felt that Duanmukei's entire person was uncomfortable when he said that. Yes, young master. We will leave immediately. The men nodded and bowed as they left the room and closed the door, leaving the 2 of us at a loss. I looked in the mirror and adjusted my dress. I was still wearing Han Hao's jacket. Touching his clothes, I could still smell the faint scent of his body. Thinking about how he had helped me out and protected me time and time again, and thinking about his tender eyes, I couldn't help but laugh. Duanmukei looked at my infatuated face and instantly darkened. Cold glaze, take off that jacket. I instantly woke up from my sweet dream. I looked at his tense face. Why? Why? Because you are my wife. You can't wear other people's clothes. Are you going to take it off or not? Duanmukei saw that I didn't move, so he walked over to take off my jacket. I hugged myself tightly and didn't let him take it off. Duanmukei saw that he couldn't take it off, so he tore it like a demon. The tearing sound was like tearing my heart. I couldn't stand it anymore and pushed him to the ground. Han Hao's clothes had been ruined beyond recognition. I took it off and looked at Duanmu, Quebec. I threw the jacket at his face. Are you satisfied? Duanmukei, if you don't like me, then let's just go our separate ways. We're husband and wife in name only. I'm not so naive as to think that I can grow old with you. So don't be so sure. I turned to leave, but Duanmukei suddenly stood up and hugged me from behind. He threw me heavily onto the sofa, and I grimaced in pain. I struggled to get up, but his whole body was on top of me. I couldn't move. I reached out to hit him, but he held my hands down and stared at me without saying a word. Because I didn't have my jacket, my snow-white skin above my chest was exposed in front of him. He stared at me, and I couldn't break free from his hands. Duanmukei let go of me. I was a little anxious. He looked into my eyes and slowly lowered his head, inching closer to my chest. Duanmukei, don't touch me. Get lost. I was really anxious. I felt a pain in my chest, and I couldn't help but scream. I felt my whole body go numb. My blood was flowing faster, my heart was beating faster, and my breathing was getting faster. After a while, Duanmukei raised his head and looked at me. He pointed at my left chest and said, "I planted a mark here for you. You can't escape." He moved away from me. I lay on the sofa alone, clutching my chest. After a while, I stood up and looked at myself in the mirror. There was a red mark that was slightly smaller than a coin on my left chest. My face instantly turned red. Isn't this the legendary strawberry plant? Chapter 8. I lowered my head and stood in front of the mirror. 10,000 alpacas were galloping in my heart. I couldn't describe this feeling. I wanted to throw a tantrum, but I couldn't. Suddenly, Duanmu hugged me from behind. I lifted my head and looked at the two of us in the mirror. Duanmu wasn't short. I had to wear high heels to reach his neck. His eyes weren't as gentle as Han Hao's. There was a trace of arrogance in his eyes. His skin was very good. Perhaps it was because he often took care of his skin, or perhaps he had lived a pampered life. His skin was very delicate, with a high nose and thin lips. Looking at it this way, he was still very good-looking. Duanmu hugged my waist and looked into my eyes in the mirror. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but no words came out. He let me go, and I turned to look at him with a puzzled face. He didn't look me in the eye and walked to the door. I thought to myself, what's wrong with him? Why is he hesitating? He took off his jacket and threw it at me. It almost hit my face. Luckily, I reacted quickly. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how hard it would have hit me. "Put this on when you go out," he said and left the room. The difference in attitude was too big. I didn't know which one was the real Duanmu, Quebec. But after thinking about it, there wasn't much difference. They both liked to use violence. No matter if it was real violence or silent violence, one was torture, and the other was torture to the heart. I simply tidied up my clothes and put on Duanmu's jacket. I walked out of the room. There were still many friends and relatives who hadn't left yet. They gathered together and talked about everything. Our two families were busy greeting everyone. My father and mother were smiling brightly today. I hadn't seen my father so gentle in a long time. After greeting the last group of guests, Duanmu and I slumped on the chairs. I was lying on the table. I didn't even have the strength to drink water. He sat across from me and fiddled with his phone. His face was full of impatience. "Li, we should go." I heard my mother's voice, and I lifted my head. My father and mother were ready to go back. I stood up. Mother gently stroked my face. "Remember to come back and see us when you go home." Then her eyes reddened again, and tears welled up in them. "Let's go. It's not like we'll never see each other again." The father comforted the mother and led her out of the hall. My heart is empty. I will have to rely on myself for the path that I am about to take in the future. At this moment, Duanmu's parents walked towards us. "Xiao, Li, pack up. We should go home." Duanmu's mother held my hand and looked at me with a smile. In my opinion, Duanmu's mother, Xiao Fengya, was a very kind and amiable woman. When I found out that I was going to marry Duanmu, I did a detailed investigation on his parents. When she was young, his mother was a famous actress. She was also the daughter of a famous family. Later on, she fell in love with Duanmu Tachio and gave birth to Duanmu Quebec. No wonder Duanmu's appearance was so good. It was because of his good genes. I thought that in the entire Kurosawa, the only person who would not harm me was Xiao Fengya. "Xiao Li, what are you thinking about?" Xiao Fengya held my hand and asked me worriedly. Auntie, it's nothing. I'm not thinking about anything." I came back to my senses and saw her worried expression. Instantly, I felt a warm feeling that was not unfamiliar at all. "Silly child, you're already married, yet you're still calling me auntie. You should call me Popo, but Popo seems too distant. If you don't mind, you can call me Mom, okay?" Xiao Fengya winked cutely at me. I couldn't control myself and laughed out loud. "And Mom, sorry, I'm not used to it yet." I awkwardly changed the way I addressed her. Xiao Fengya looked at me awkwardly. Hearing me change the way I addressed her, she was very happy and smiled like a flower. Duanmu couldn't sit still. He stood up with a disgusted expression and pointed at me and said, "Mom, are you kidding me? I'm your biological child, okay? Why do I feel like she's your biological child? Don't mess around. Look at Xiaoli, she's such a good child. I liked her from the first time I saw her," Xiao Fengya said and hugged me. Her full breasts pressed down on me and made it hard for me to breathe. I felt that Duan Mukei's gaze had already killed me 1,000 times. I didn't know how much he cursed me in his heart. I said helplessly, "Auntie, I'm a bit uncomfortable. Can you let me go first?" I felt that Xiao Fengya definitely didn't hear me. I only felt that she was lovingly stroking my hair. "Mom, let her go." Duan Mukei walked around the table and arrived next to me. He grabbed my arm and pulled me into his embrace. My face was filled with black lines. Xiao Fengya covered her mouth and stood on the side laughing. The two of us stood on the side with a head full of question marks. "Mom, what are you laughing at?" Duan Mukei stood there awkwardly. "I'm not laughing at anything. Aren't you very interested in her? Why are you pretending? I haven't finished speaking. Why are you pushing me?" Without waiting for Xiao Fengya to finish, Duan Mukei pushed her out. "Mom, are you okay? Go out and wait for us in the car. We'll be there in a bit." Duan Mukei pushed Xiao Fengya out of the hall. He let out a long breath, turned around, and looked at the stupefied me. The moment he turned his head, I suddenly felt that he wasn't that annoying. Actually, he was just a simple and straightforward big boy. Wasn't that the warm scene, just now the life that I had once imagined? But did I really have to compromise like this? No, I couldn't have any feelings for him. No matter how outstanding he was, it would never be possible between him and me. Duan Mukei walked in front of me. His face was a little red. He didn't look me in the eyes. Don't listen to my mom's nonsense. But to be honest, I did hate that marriage contract. I hated you. That's why I tortured you. I thought about resisting, but I still ended up here. So, let nature take its course. I looked at him quietly. I had guessed these words before. Duan Mukei was right. Let nature take its course. I only hoped that I could get the information my father wanted from Duan Mukei's house. As long as I could contribute to Red Minghui, it would be enough. It's okay. I didn't want to be tied down by someone I wouldn't give my feelings to. I opened Duan Mukei's gentleness to me in my mind. Confirm, delete. Okay, let's go. Mom and Dad are waiting for us. I followed Duan Mukei's footsteps to the entrance of the hall. I turned around and looked at the red carpet, the beautiful stage, and the neat tables. Everything that happened here was like a dream. Chapter 9. After leaving the venue, I followed Duan Mukei into the car. We sped all the way to the Duanmu family's mansion. When we were about to reach the mansion's entrance, we saw a row of people standing there to welcome us from afar. The car stopped at the entrance, and I got off. There really were a lot of servants. Xiao Fengya walked over and pulled my hand towards the front door. "Master, Madam, young master, young madam." The people standing in line to greet us shouted enthusiastically. We walked through the front door and into the living room. Duanmu's home was decorated in a pure Chinese style. As soon as we arrived, Duanmu Tachio led a few people into a room. I guessed that was his study. It should also be the place I investigated. Duanmu Kei walked into the living room in front of me and sat down on the sofa. He picked up a book on the coffee table and started to read, ignoring me. Xiao Fengya, on the other hand, didn't mind showing me around and showing me around. "Xiao Li, come. This will be your home from now on. On your left is the kitchen, storage room, bathroom, and the servant's lounge. The room his dad just went into is the study. Although he always works there, sometimes uses it. If you want to look for information, you can go there." It doesn't seem appropriate for me to go," I said tentatively. She was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said to me, "What's inappropriate? We're family. Come, let's go upstairs." With that, she pulled me upstairs. "Aunt Xiao, you're back." A crisp voice reached my ears. I raised my head and saw a skinny girl standing there looking at me. Yes, we're back. You came just in time. This is Cold Glaze. You can call her sister-in-law from now on. Xiao Fengya turned to me and smiled. Xiaoli, this is UXIN. Hello. I nodded to her. She didn't say anything and just looked at me with a smile. Okay, you go do your own thing. I'll show Xiaoli around. Xiao Fengya pulled my hand and walked around her. I intentionally glanced at her from the corner of my eyes. She also turned to look at me with a serious expression. When we reached the second floor, Xiao Fengya pointed to the room facing the stairs and said to me, Xiaoli, guess whose room this is? If you guess right, you'll get a reward. It can't be my Duanmukei's and my room, right? Xiaoli, you're so smart, come open and see. I opened the door, and a beautiful and exquisite room came into view. There were 2 floor-to-ceiling windows in the room. The afternoon sun shone into the room, and the whole room was warm. There was a large European-style bed in the middle of the room and all the furniture. I opened the wardrobe and saw women's clothes on the left and men's clothes on the right. I turned to look at Xiao Fengya. Really, Xiaoli? Are you satisfied? I didn't know what you liked, so I asked your mother for your size. I arranged it according to the style you young people like. Thank you, Mom. Xiao Fengya's kindness made my heart feel warm. You rest first. I'll send someone to call you when dinner is ready. Then she closed the door and left. I sat on the chair by the window and stared blankly at the scenery outside. I thought about everything that had happened today. It was just like a movie. I was a little tired, so I leaned on the table and closed my eyes. If you want to sleep, sleep on the bed. You don't want to sleep when there's a bed. I heard the door open, and Duanmukei's cold voice followed. I opened my eyes and saw him leaning against the door. I glanced at him and turned away, ignoring him. I'm speechless, he muttered. Then, there was a series of footsteps. I ignored them. Suddenly, I felt someone hugging my waist. I turned to look at Duanmukei, who was squatting down and trying to hug me. What are you doing? I pushed Duanmukei away with all my strength. I told you to sleep on the bed. He suddenly picked me up. He didn't care how hard I struggled and threw me onto the bed. He turned around and took off my shoes. Then, he grabbed the blanket and stuffed me under it. The bed was soft and definitely had a hypnotic effect. I started to feel sleepy and yawned. When I looked up, I saw Duanmukei had taken off his shirt and his back was facing me. He was about to take off his pants. I immediately covered my eyes. Duanmukei, what are you doing? Why are you taking off your clothes? I shouted at him. I say, Miss Lung, look at what you've done to me today. Look at my clothes. Duanmukei casually tossed his shirt next to me. Then why don't you go to the toilet and change? I grabbed the shirt and was about to throw it at him. Suddenly, he jumped onto the bed and pressed me under his body. It was the 3rd time today. My face turned red. Duanmukei's body was very good. Maybe it was because he often exercised, but his muscles were very smooth. I didn't know where to look and kept looking around. What are you looking at? Nothing. I don't know what to look at. If you don't know what to look at, then look at me. Duanmukei put his hand on my face, and we looked at each other again. We were so close that I could feel his breathing and his heartbeat. I felt my face turn even redder. Why is your face so red? Did you drink? This idiot's question made me want to beat him up again. What did I drink? Without waiting for me to finish my sentence, Duanmukei's lips once again deeply kissed mine. I couldn't resist again. That sweet kiss was like a deadly poison. I couldn't resist. I thought he could hear my heartbeat, so fast that I couldn't control it. There's no smell of alcohol. Looks like you didn't drink too much. He got off my body. I opened my eyes and looked at the ceiling. My mind was in a mess. I turned my head and looked at Duanmu, Quebec. He had just taken off his pants, leaving only his underwear. I covered my eyes in shock. Duanmukei, next time you change your clothes, can you tell me? Put on your clothes, or you can get out. My heartbeat disappeared in an instant. Now I only had the urge to beat him up. I covered my eyes and didn't dare to look at him. I was afraid that I would see something that would hurt my eyes. Just then, I suddenly felt someone get on the bed. He lifted the blanket and lay down. But I still didn't dare to move my hands away. I turned around. Hey, why are you turning around? I was afraid that you would be scared, so I came to accompany you to sleep. You're just turning your back to me? Go away. I don't need you to accompany me. I moved to the side of the bed and put down my hands that were covering my eyes. Just then, Duanmuke hugged me from behind. But I need you to accompany me to sleep. Duanmuke leaned toward me, and I sank into his arms. I didn't say much. I really needed to rest, but lying in his arms, I didn't feel sleepy at all. Chapter 10. Leaning against Duanmuke's chest, I could feel his strong heartbeat and his soft breathing. I was tired from lying in the same position, so I turned around and saw Duanmuke's handsome face. The way he slept was different from how he usually was. He was very quiet, like a child. I studied his face carefully and was mesmerized. Actually, Duanmuke and How weren't bad, but they had different personalities. One was quieter, while the other was colder. Just as I was thinking, he suddenly opened his eyes, which made me shiver. Why aren't you sleeping? Duanmuke asked in a low voice. Oh. I couldn't think of a word to answer him. What oh? Go to sleep. Duanmuke said and pulled me into his arms. My face was pressed against his chest, and I could smell Duanmuke's faint body fragrance. My hand was on his chest, and my delicate skin could feel the rise and fall of his breath. I didn't feel uncomfortable in his arms at all. It was as if I was used to it. I leaned against his chest quietly and felt very comfortable. I didn't know why, but I suddenly felt sleepy. I slowly closed my eyes and fell into a deep sleep in Duanmuke's arms. Maybe I was too tired, but I slept too soundly. I didn't know how long I slept. When I woke up, the moon was high in the sky outside the window, and the street lights were on. The room was dark, and Duanmuke wasn't next to me. There was a lamp on the desk in the corner, and Duanmuke was sitting there, fiddling with something. I got up, put on my coat, and walked behind him. I stuck my head out to look at him. You're awake. He didn't turn around. I saw that he was writing something. Duanmuke turned to look at me. He closed the notebook and stuffed it into the drawer. What are you writing? Let me see. I reached out to open the drawer. No. He grabbed my outstretched hand and pulled it back. I lost my balance, and he took the opportunity to hug me. I sat on his lap, and my hands hooked around his neck. Why are you so proactive this time, throwing yourself into my arms? Speak, what are your intentions? Duanmuke was definitely the kind of person who would pretend to be innocent after taking advantage of her. He was clearly the one who had not taken enough advantage of her, yet he still wanted to complain. You think too much. I let go and tried to get up from his lap, but he held me firmly in his arms, and I couldn't resist at all. Knock, knock, knock. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Who is it? Duanmuke stood up and walked over. Brother, it's me, Uxin. Duanmuke opened the door and saw Uxin standing there in a white dress. What is it? Xin. Auntie Xiao asked me to call you down for dinner. When Uxin said this, she glanced into the room and saw me touching up my makeup in front of the dressing table. My expression was very serious. Duanmuke turned to look at me and said to Uxin, Okay, I got it. You can leave first. Duanmuke closed the door and walked behind me. He quietly looked at me, as if he was thinking about something. I looked at his complicated expression and felt that this man had a lot on his mind. Right, I heard Uxin call you brother. Is she your biological sister? I asked Duanmuke as I combed my hair. Uxin? No, she's our family's adopted daughter. Duanmuke came back to his senses and fiddled with my hair. Adopted daughter? Yeah, when she was young, her father gave us a sum of money. In order to pay off the debt, he gave her to my family. When she came to my family, she was very young, about the same age as me. So we played together when we were young and grew up together. She always calls me brother, and I always treat her as a little sister. Oh. I nodded thoughtfully. Oh what? If I don't call you right, then what should you call me in the future? Duanmuke knocked my head with his hand. Call you what? Hubby? I can't say that. I held my head and looked at him. You did it on purpose. I don't care, think about it yourself. Let's go eat. Duanmuke pulled me out of the room. The two of us walked to the dining room on the first floor. There was a table full of sumptuous dishes. Duan Mutachio and Xiao Fengya were already seated. The two of them were talking and laughing. Sitting next to Xiao Fengya, Xin sat silently. Duan Muke pulled me to an empty seat. Dad, Mom, we came down. Okay, let's eat. Duan Mutachio nodded. Xiao Li, you have to eat more. I don't know what you like to eat, so I asked the nanny to prepare more. Come, try this fish. Xiao Fengya casually picked up a piece of fish and put in my bowl. Mom, don't give her food. She can get it herself. As Duanmuke spoke, he picked up food and put in my bowl. Not long after, the food in my bowl piled up into a small hill. I vigorously pushed Duanmuke's thigh, telling him to stop. Li Xiong, did you see that? K is grown up. He knows how to take care of his wife. Xiao Fengya smiled at Duan Mutachio. Yes, K's performance is not bad. Duan Mutachio also agreed. I stood up, embarrassed. I picked up a prawn and put it in Duan Mutachio's bowl. Dad, you eat. I also picked up a prawn and put it in Xiao Fengya's bowl. Mom, you eat too. I turned to look at Duan Muke, who had an expectant look on his face. I picked up a prawn and put it in his bowl. Here, yours. No, it's missing something. Duan Muke put the prawn back. Then he said to me, what's missing? Let's do it again. I immediately understood Duan Muke's meaning. I picked up a prawn and put in my bowl. In a coquettish voice, I said, Hubby, eat prawn. When Duan Mutachio and Xiao Fengya heard this, they also understood. Everyone laughed. Only Xin kept a straight face as she ate. I picked up a prawn and put it in her bowl. Xin, eat more. I smiled at her. Thank you. Xin didn't even raise her head as she ate. Xin, Auntie already told you. In the future, you have to call Xiao Li's sister-in-law. Look at how good your sister-in-law is. Xiao Fengya stopped smiling. Mom, don't talk about Xin. Hurry up and eat. Duan Muke took over. At this time, Xin raised her head and looked at Duan Muke with a gratified expression. Mom, it's okay. I'm not familiar with Xin right now. It'll be better in the future. I tried to smooth things over. Xin's strange personality immediately attracted my attention. She was definitely hiding something deep inside her heart. Okay. Since Xiao Li said so, then forget it. Let's continue eating. I looked at Xin, who was sitting across from me. She looked at Duan Muke, then looked at me. Then she lowered her head and continued eating. Chapter 11. After eating dinner, Duan Mutachio went to the study. Xiao Fengya pulled me to the sofa and chatted. Duan Muke sat next to me and carefully read a book. Xin walked from the kitchen to the living room and towards the stairs. Xin, do you want to eat some fruit? I looked at her back and called out. Xin stopped her footsteps and didn't look back at me. No, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to rest first. She directly went upstairs. I leaned on the sofa and looked at her small figure. My curiosity about her was aroused. This child is getting more and more impudent. How can she be so rude? Xiao Fengya muttered in a low voice. Auntie, can you tell me about Xin? I always feel that she's a bit resistant to me. When Xin first came to my family, she wasn't like this. When she was 3 years old, her mother became seriously ill. Her father was a big gambler. He would rather gamble than treat his wife's illness. Later, he gambled more and lost more and more. I heard that he couldn't pay back the money, So he took his wife to the casino and let her sell herself. Then he used the money that his wife earned to gamble again. After a long time, his wife's illness became more and more serious. The casino disliked his wife because she was too sick to receive customers, so they kicked him and his wife out of the casino. Because they didn't have the money to treat her illness, Xion's mother passed away not long after. However, her father didn't want to turn over a new leaf and earn money to support the family. Because of his gambling, the casino no longer allowed him to enter. He ran to a casino under Haitong to continue gambling. In the end, when he ran out of money, he wanted to sell his daughter. The manager of the casino felt that this matter was too big, so he reported it to Li Xiong. I still remember clearly the first time I saw Xion. She was too thin and weak. Her big round eyes looked at us in horror. I heard her story and thought that she was really pitiful, so I bought her and adopted her. I wanted to wait for her to grow up and find a good family for her. It could be considered a good deed. It seems that Xion was also a pitiful child. No wonder she was so lonely and cold. Maybe she was afraid that others would harm her. Mom, why are you telling her these things? How long had it been since then? This will make Xin sad again. Duanmuke put down the book and looked up at Xiao Fengya and I. His face was full of dissatisfaction. You didn't say anything? Xiao Fengya glared at Duanmu, Quebec. Okay, Mom, in a few days Duanmuke and I will be going on our honeymoon. Let's find some time to go shopping. I cleverly changed the subject. Okay. Xiao Fengya started to tell me which brand of clothes were new and which brand of cosmetics was the best. I smiled and agreed. Bang, bang, bang. Someone knocked on the door. The few of us looked at the door. The housekeeper opened the door and a very familiar figure entered. Han Hao, why are you here? Duanmuke turned his head and asked Han Hao while flipping through his book. Hello, Auntie Xiao. Duanmuke, my dad asked me to bring a document to my uncle. He said it was urgent, so I came. Han Hao smiled at me. His smile was so sweet that I smiled back. Duanmuke raised his head and saw us smiling at each other. He closed his book and stood up. My dad is in the study. You can go now. Mom, I'm going upstairs. He walked to my side and lowered his head to whisper into my ear, Wifey, when we're done talking with Mom, you should come up early. Then he looked back at Han Hao, turned around, and walked upstairs. Auntie Xiao, I'm going first. Han Hao gestured to us and walked into the study. Looking at Han Hao's back, I had an indescribable feeling in my heart. Xiao Fengya pulled me to the sofa and told me some embarrassing stories about Duanmuke when he was young. I listened to them happily. It turned out that Duanmuke wasn't as cold as he seemed. Everything was just an act. He was actually a very sunny boy. His style of doing things was completely different from Duanmu Tachio's. In Xiao Fengya's words, although he inherited their genes, his personality was completely nurtured. He was resolute and would do whatever he wanted to do. After a while, I heard the study door open. Han Hao walked out of the study, looking exhausted. Hao are you not feeling well? Why do you look so pale? Xiao Fengya turned and looked at Han Hao with concern. Auntie Xiao, I'm fine. It's getting late. I should go. I'll come see you again next time. Han Hao waved his hand and walked out of the door. Mom, I'll see him out. Xiao Fengya nodded, and I followed him out. The development of the plot was always surprisingly similar. The last time I saw him off was after he helped me get home. This time, I saw him off after I got married. The two of us slowly walked on the road to the door. We didn't say a word, but I could feel that his heart wasn't calm. Thank you for helping me out today, I said softly. It's nothing. Anyone would have done the same at that time. Are you sure? I stopped in my tracks. Han Hao also stopped after taking 2 steps. Here, I might not be able to protect you all the time. Han Hao turned to look at me. After the incident at the wedding, Duanmuke talked to me. He doesn't want me to get too close to you. Why? My heart trembled. So Duanmuke had talked to him before. You know, Duamuke is a very strange person. He might not reach out to kill you, but he can force you into a dead end and make you have no choice but to die. You know, the feeling he gives me right now is that you are his prey. He doesn't lack women by his side, but none of them can stay by his side for long. Han how grabbed my shoulder as if he wanted to crush me. Are you worried about me? I looked into Han how's gentle eyes. Chapter 12. Seeing Duanmuke, I was shocked. But then I saw his cold eyes and thought about what Han Hao had said to me. Duanmuke probably thought there was something going on between Han Hao and me. I walked back into the house. Xiao Fengya wasn't in the living room anymore. I walked up the stairs to the door. My hand stopped as I was about to open the door. If Duanmuke asked, how should I answer? Forget it. I didn't want to think about it. I opened the door and saw Duanmuke standing in front of the window with his back to the door. I walked in and closed the door behind me. I didn't plan to talk to him. I opened the wardrobe and took out my pajamas. I was about to go to the bathroom to change. What did you do just now? Duanmuke asked, looking out the window. I stood by the bed with the pajamas in my arms. Han Hao finished his business and sent him off. Duanmuke turned to look at me. Since when was it your turn to send him off? He helped me out today. I wanted to thank him. I felt that Duanmuke's eyes weren't normal. Do you need a hug to thank him? He walked towards me and stood in front of me. Subconsciously, I took a step back. As a result, I lost my balance and sat on the bed. I didn't say a word. I just looked at him quietly. It seemed that he was angry. Huh? Do I need a hug to apologize? Why did he hug you? Duanmuke supported himself with one hand on the edge of the bed, pressing me under his body. I used my hand to push against his chest so that I wouldn't fall down. A hug didn't do anything. It was just a friendly hug. Don't you think you're meddling too much? I pushed Duanmuke's chest with all my strength, but his cold eyes made my hair stand on end. Does it mean that if something worse happens, it won't be meddling too much if I talk about it? Duanmuke pushed me with all his strength. I lay flat on the bed. He pressed his whole body on top of me and looked at me. I felt very insecure. I hugged the pajamas and looked at him. Get off. I'm going to change and rest. I found an excuse to get him off me. Duanmuke grabbed my pajamas and snatched it over. He stood in front of me, glaring at me fiercely as he tore my pajamas in front of me. What are you doing? I sat up. Duanmuke threw the torn pajamas on the floor and pushed me down again. I couldn't move as he was on top of me. He continued to stare at me, one hand by my ear while the other hand started to unbutton his shirt. His snow-white skin, firm muscles, and smooth lines slowly appeared in my line of sight. I turned my head away from him and tried to push him away with both hands. Duanmuke, what are you doing? Let me go. Duanmuke held my face with his hand. I realized that his upper body was completely naked in front of me. His eyes weren't as cold as before. There was even a hint of gentleness. He looked at me quietly. His face came closer, and his lips were deeply imprinted on mine. Duanmuke's kiss must be magical. I didn't resist. I quietly felt his warm kiss. The longer the kiss, the more I couldn't resist. Instead, I enjoyed it. After a while, Duanmuke raised his head and looked at me. You are mine. I fell into his kiss again. It was my first time. I looked at the handsome man in front of me. I couldn't remember all the bad things he had done to me in the past. It was as if I had lost my memory. I could only remember his passion and tenderness towards me in one day. Finally, on this night, I gave my body to this man. After a round of passion, I lay in Duanmuke's arms and fell into a light sleep. As I recalled the wonderful things that had just happened, I blushed shyly. Duanmuke didn't fall asleep. He played with my hair. I didn't know what he was thinking. Xiao Li, do you think I am a good man? Duanmuke asked. I don't know. Then you are so relieved to give your precious first time to me? After listening to Duanmuke's words, I didn't answer. Indeed, Why did I have sex with him? If I had resisted, Dwanmuke probably wouldn't have forced himself on me. But we really had sex. Was it because it was part of the marriage agreement? Or was it because I had fallen in love with him? Shaoli, you should have heard what Han Hao said. Actually, I've slept with many women in the past. These women, other than throwing themselves at me, only had relations with me because of my family background. They simply thought that as long as they satisfied my sexual desires, they would have the right to have me, Dwanmuke, pamper them. But they were wrong. What I wanted was a treasure, not a tile. These women were not obtained through hard work. Even if they were in my bed, they could not be called my women. Dwanmuke cupped my face. At first, I thought you were like those women. You approached me with a purpose. When I found out that this marriage was established for the benefit of both families, I sympathized with you and hated you at the same time. So, I thought of ways to torture you. But your cold personality surprised me. When I saw how Han Hao helped you again and again, I suddenly became curious about you. So I'm also your prey, right? I looked at Dwanmu, Quebec, Dwanmu. Kay thought for a moment. Yes. I smiled. Then, do you think you have successfully hunted me? No, I can't see your heart. Dwanmuke cupped my face and kissed my forehead. He pointed at my chest with his finger. I pushed him away and turned my back to him. I fell into deep thought. Han Hao was right. Dwanmuke saw me as his prey. If he got me, I might become worthless. Suddenly, Dwanmuke hugged me from behind. He buried his head in my long hair. I didn't say anything. He hugged me tightly, as if he wanted to melt me into his embrace. Don't leave me. Chapter 13. Dwanmuke was a man that I couldn't understand. When he was angry, he was like a wild beast. When he was quiet, he was like a child. When he was cold, you would want to kill him. But when I saw his gentle side, my heart couldn't help but soften. Dwanmuke hugged me tightly. He rubbed his face against my hair. I didn't resist. What was done couldn't be undone. I had already married him, and what had happened. I leaned into his embrace, my hands resting on Dwanmuke's hands. He grabbed my hands and hugged me even tighter. Dwanmuke, what kind of person are you? I asked softly. You will understand me completely one day. Dwanmuke turned me over and laid on top of me. He buried his head in my neck. I hooked my arms around his neck and kissed him on the side of his face. He suddenly lifted his head and looked at me with a puzzled expression. I smiled and looked at him. Isn't acting supposed to be a trap? Actually, I'm just like other women. I'm not as noble as you think. Dwanmuke touched my face. You acted well. However, your eyes betrayed you. They were too sincere. His kiss touched my heart again. I hugged his neck tightly and felt his warmth. At least for this night, please allow me to indulge myself and fall into Dwanmuke's arms. The morning sun was exceptionally warm. It shone through the glass window and warmed the bed. The sun was so bright that I couldn't open my eyes. I turned over and moved. I felt a hand gently stroking my hair. I opened my eyes and saw Dwanmuke's gentle eyes. You're awake. I moved closer to Dwanmuke's chest and closed my eyes again. Dwanmuke smiled and held me in his arms. He gently kissed my head. Bang, bang, bang. There was a knock on the door. Young master, young madam. Madam wants you to come downstairs for breakfast. It's time to get up. Mom's calling us for breakfast. Dwanmuke sat up and patted me. Ma'am. I rubbed my eyes and sat up. Dwanmuke got off the bed and stood naked in front of me. The image that burned my eyes instantly woke me up. Dwanmuke, put your clothes on. I turned my head away from the sight of such an unpleasantness. It's not like I haven't seen it before. Dwanmuke muttered. He moved his face closer and looked at me with a perverted smile. Do you want to take a shower together? My face darkened. I grabbed a pillow and threw it at his face. Get lost. Dwanmuke leaned to the side and didn't hit me. I couldn't take it anymore and threw the pillow at him a few more times. He easily dodged it. He looked at me with an evil smile and ran around the room naked. I was speechless. I lay on the bed and sighed. He wasn't as bad as I thought. After a long time, we went downstairs to the dining room. Duan Mutachio wasn't at the table. Xiao Fengya and Yu Xin were sitting there waiting for us. Mom, you must have been anxious waiting. You woke up late. Duan Muke sat down and said to Xiao Fengya, "It's okay. How did you sleep last night?" Xiao Fengya asked me with a smile. I slept well. My face flushed a deep red. Haha, it's good that you slept well. Xiao Fengya seemed to understand something and laughed. Yu Xin sat across from me and ate quietly. She didn't raise her head to look at us. Just like yesterday, her expression was serious. But to be honest, Yu Xin was very beautiful. Although she was small, her body was curvy, and she had a baby face. Although she was serious, she was very cute. If Yu Xin could smile, she would be a very beautiful woman. After breakfast, Duan Mutachio called and asked Duan Muke to go to the company. Xiao Fengya had an appointment with the other madams to attend a tea party, so she also went out. Only Yu Xin and I were left in the house. I was bored, so I wandered around the room. When I reached a corner of the garden, I saw Yu Xin holding a pair of scissors and trimming the flowers. I thought this was the best time to get closer to Yu Xin, so I walked over. Xin, so you were here. Are you trimming the flowers? I smiled and waved my hand. Yu Xin raised her head and looked at me. She didn't answer and continued trimming the flowers. I didn't think she was such a cold person. I walked to her side and quietly stood next to her. I was thinking about how to get out of this awkward situation. Do you love him? Yu Xin lowered her head and asked. What? I looked at her. Do you love Duan Muke? This question really stumped me. I did marry Duan Muke because of the engagement, but thinking about last night's tenderness, I didn't know how to answer this question. Why do you ask? If you don't love him, then I hope you can stay away from him. Yu Xin raised her head and looked at me. She stopped what she was doing. Yu Xin's eyes were very firm. This made another thought emerge in my heart. Could it be that she likes Duan Muke? I heard the real reason why you two got married. Although it's for each other's benefit, you don't like him. You shouldn't have feelings for him, and you shouldn't give your body to him. Yesterday, I heard your conversation outside the door. So what if he's hunting? Do you know how many women are willing to be his prey? I was shocked. This woman stood in front of our door for the whole night? What was her purpose? So what if you are the eldest daughter of the Lung family? You will never understand how good Duan Mugij is. You know, I saw you by his side. You look like you're together, but you're apart. I felt very disgusted. So I advise you, if you really don't love him, then you should let him go. I smiled and looked at Yu Xin. What if I say no? Yu Xin raised the pruning scissors and pointed the tip of the scissors at my throat. She looked at me with cold eyes and said, if this scissors is inserted into your throat, then you will use your life to answer the question you just asked. I didn't dodge. I stood in front of Yu Xin and looked at her. I didn't expect her weak appearance to hide such a cruel heart. However, it also confirmed my guess. She really did like Duanmu Quebec Xin. What are you doing? I suddenly heard a shout. I turned my head and saw Xiao Fengya standing next to the flower pond with her bag. Yu Xin put down the scissors. Mom, you're back. I walked around Yu Xin and greeted her. Xiaoli, are you okay? Why is she pointing the scissors at you? Xiao Fengya worriedly touched my neck. Mom, I'm fine. I saw that Xin knows how to prune, so I wanted her to teach me. You saw her hand the tools to me. I held Xiao Fengya's arm and said with a smile, Mom, why did you come back so quickly? It's good that you're fine. My good friends suddenly stood me up. Chapter 14. Mom, how about we go shopping? I asked with a smile. Okay, let's go. I turned my head and said, Xin, do you want to come with us? Uxin held the scissors and shook her head as she walked towards the warehouse. This child's temper is getting weirder and weirder. Xiao Fengya muttered. I changed into a simple set of light clothes and went out with Xiao Fengya to go shopping. On the way, Xiao Fengya introduced me to a lot of Kurosawa companies. Among them, the biggest shopping mall in a city was owned by the Kurosawa. Duanmu Tachio gave it to Duanmu K to manage. When we arrived at the shopping mall, Xiao Fengya smiled and said to me, who knows, we might even meet K.er. Mom, let's go shopping first. Although I didn't say it, in my heart, I still wanted to see Duanmu, Quebec. They say that men at work are the most attractive. If I could see Duanmu K, I would be very happy. I accompanied Xiao Fengya to 3 floors and bought a lot of things. In front of us was a Gucci store. I suddenly had an idea. I wanted to buy a small gift for Duanmu, Quebec. I pulled Xiao Fengya's clothes and said, Mom, let's go shopping in that store. I heard that recently a new belt was released. I think it's very suitable. I want to show it to Duanmu, Quebec. Okay, let's go. The 2 of us walked into the Gucci store. The salesperson warmly welcomed us and introduced us to each product in detail. I casually picked 2 bags and happened to see Gucci's new men's belt in the most conspicuous position of the display case. I motioned to the salesperson to show me the leather. Miss, you have a good eye. This is our store's new product. It just came out. It's a limited edition. There are only a few in the world. Our store only has this one. I took the belt and looked it up and down. Okay, I'll take this. Please help me wrap it up. I need to give it to someone. I handed my bank card to her. Just as she was about to take the bank card, a huge figure suddenly appeared in front of me and bounced me away. I took a few steps back, and Xiao Fengya immediately supported me. This belt, I want it. A fat woman with heavy makeup glared at me and grabbed my belt. She threw my bank card on the floor and threw her wallet on the counter. I'm sorry, madam. This young lady saw it first. The salesperson picked up the bank card for me and then supported me. Are you blind? Can't you see it's in my hands? Hurry up and give me the bill. The woman put her hands on her hips and gestured at the salesperson. Madam, how about this? I'll order another one for you. It'll arrive soon, the salesperson explained patiently. Why should I order another one? And why shouldn't they order another one? Hurry up and give me the bill. The woman sat on the chair and looked at us with disdain. Madam, we ordered this first. Can you please have some manners? Xiao Fengya was a bit anxious. Manners? Can't you see it's in anyone's hands? The woman suddenly stood up and walked towards Xiao Fengya. I stepped in front of Xiao Fengya and blocked her. This woman didn't give up, and more onlookers gathered around. Xiao Fengya wanted me to stop pestering her, but I had my own principles. I was the one who ordered it first. Why should I let a passerby steal my things? The salesperson suppressed her emotions and tried to appease her. Everyone make way, make way. A few people came in from outside the crowd. The last one to come in was none other than Duanmu, Quebec. When he saw me and Xiao Fengya, he was stunned. He called the salesperson who handled the order over and asked about the details. He whispered a few words in the salesperson's ear, and the salesperson left. He walked to our side and said to Xiao Fengya, Ma, you must have been frightened. It's nothing, you should go home. Then he arranged for his subordinates to send Xiao Fengya away. I was about to follow, but Duanmu K pulled my hand and signaled me to stay. I nodded and stood to the side. He turned and walked to the fat woman. Madam, how do you want to solve this matter? Who are you? The fat woman looked up and down at Duanmu K and rolled her eyes. I'm the person in charge here. Tell me, how do you want to solve this? I want this belt. I don't need you to give me a discount. I don't lack that money. But you have to make that salesperson and that woman apologize to me. The fat woman pointed at me. Sure, I can sell it to you. Of course, we will also comply with your request and not give you a discount. I don't think an apology has reached that level. Can you give me some face and not haggle over this matter? Duanmuke very patiently explained to her. Ridiculous. Who do you think you are that I should give you face? The woman sneered. I clenched my fists, and Duanmuke pulled my hand. Well, Duanmuke's face, may not be worth that much in front of you. However, I have already arranged for the salesperson to call the police. Your current behavior constitutes a disturbance of public order. Duanmuke looked at his watch. I think the police will be here soon. You're threatening me? You think I'm afraid of the police? The woman's voice trembled. You're not afraid of the police, but you're afraid of me, Duanmu, Quebec. If I'm polite, I'll hand you over to the police. If I'm not polite, I'll hand you over to the Kurosawa. I'm afraid you won't be that lucky. Duanmuke's words scared the woman into silence. While she was in a daze, I walked in front of her and snatched the belt from her hand. I handed it to the cashier and successfully paid the bill. The fat woman saw that the situation wasn't good, so she left with her tail between her legs. The onlookers gradually dispersed. After I finished paying the bill, I turned around and saw Duanmuke sitting on the sofa looking at me. I walked over. He stood up and patted my head. How long have you been shopping? You must be hungry. I'll take you to eat something good. He pulled me out. I heard the salesperson behind us say, Is she young Master K's wife? She's so beautiful. Yes. She's a good match for young Master Quebec. My face immediately turned red. Duanmuke looked at my bashful expression and couldn't help but laugh. Ha, look at how angry you are. It's been half a day, and your face is still red. I looked at him with disdain. Who said I was angry? It's all because I heard you, the salesperson, talk nonsense. I feel embarrassed. I know. It felt like Duanmuke was going to collapse from laughter. I glared at him fiercely, stepped on his foot, and turned around to leave. Ouch. Hey, wait for me. I held the gift in my hand and suddenly felt very happy. Chapter 15. Duanmuke took me to a high-class Western restaurant. After ordering a few dishes, he sat there and stared at me. What are you looking at? I glanced at Duanmu, Quebec. Nothing. I'm just curious. How did you get into an argument with that woman? Duanmuke supported his chin and stared at me. He looked like a child waiting to hear a story. His face was full of curiosity. I told him the whole story. He nodded and looked pensive. I fiddled with the tablecloth. Why didn't you ask me? Why did you only ask me now? I didn't need to ask you. I asked the salesperson. It was obvious that the woman was being unreasonable. But there's one thing I don't understand. What is it? Why did you fight with her over a man's belt? I asked the salesperson. She said it wasn't Mom who picked it, but you. That's why I don't understand. I blushed and didn't look at him. Duanmuke thought for a while and seemed to understand something. I know. I turned and looked at him. You gave it to my dad. Only Duanmuke, with his IQ, could answer such an idiotic question. I threw the bag at him. Take it. You're welcome. I lowered my head and fiddled with the dishes on my plate. Duanmuke received the bag. He opened it and burst out laughing. The people eating around us all looked at us. Lower your voice. So many people are watching. Even if you don't feel embarrassed, I do. I whispered to him. I know. Just say that you gave it to me, so that I don't have to waste my time guessing. Duanmuke was fiddling with the packaging, his face full of joy. Don't think too much. I just randomly saw it and bought it for you. Okay. Didn't you just randomly buy it? It's the only one in the whole mall. Yeah, so random. Duanmuke really made it sound so good even when he exposed lies. I rolled my eyes at him and didn't bother with him. Just like that, we finished our lunch noisily. Originally, I wanted to walk around for a while before going home, but Duanmuke insisted on accompanying me. I couldn't persuade him otherwise, so I agreed to go shopping with him. After walking around for 10 minutes, I started to regret it. No matter where I went, I would bump into people who knew him. Most of them were women. Moreover, the women had the same reaction when they saw us. First, they would see Duan Mukei's face filled with admiration. Then, they would look at me in disdain when Duan Mukei pulled me along. Duan Mukei would wave at everyone with a smile. When he met someone he was close to, he would even introduce me to them. I felt my neck turn red as I stood next to him. It wasn't easy to find an opportunity. I pulled Duan Mukei aside. "I'm done. I want to go back." "So fast? You didn't buy anything?" I thought to myself, with your popularity and charm, everyone knows you. How could I have the nerve to buy anything? No. I'm a little tired. I want to go back. I smiled at Duanmu Quebec. Duan Mukei looked at his watch. Then, he moved his smirking face closer to mine. "Okay, I can let you go, but I want a kiss." Black lines appeared on my face as I looked at the shameless fool in front of me. I suddenly felt an itch in my hand. I really wanted to beat him up. "Hurry up, I want a kiss." A shameless man was trying to act cute in front of you. I almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Helpless, in order to get away quickly, I gave him a perfunctory kiss on the cheek. Duan Mukei used his finger to point at his own mouth. "It says it also wants a kiss." I was speechless. I had cursed him several times in my head. The people walking past us turned to look at us. "Hurry up. There will be more people soon." In the end, I compromised. I raised my head and gently kissed Duan Mukei's lips. He pulled me into his embrace and kissed me passionately. More and more people came to watch us. Some people even clapped and cheered. I awkwardly pushed Duan Mukei away. He looked at my blushing face and smiled happily. He looked at his watch. "I'll get off work soon. I have a meeting to attend. Do you want to wait for me in my office? When I'm done, we can leave together." I thought for a moment. Since I didn't have anything to do, I might be able to steal some useful information. I nodded. He pulled my hand and walked out of the crowd. He didn't forget to wave at me, as if he was a superstar. Duan Mukei took me to his office and asked his secretary to pour me a glass of water. Then, he took a pile of documents to the meeting room. I was bored, so I flipped through the magazines on the coffee table. Actually, I wanted to open Duan Mukei's computer to read. However, I remembered that I had just arrived at Duan Mukei's house, and they wouldn't trust me completely. They might even be secretly watching me. I didn't want to reveal my purpose now. So, I just sat there and flipped through the magazines and checked my phone. At this moment, the office door opened. I looked up and the person who came in was none other than Yu Xian. Yu Xian looked at me with a puzzled face. I also looked at her with a puzzled face. "Why are you here?" Yu Xian placed a pile of documents on Duan Mukei's desk. I was shopping and happened to see Duanmu, Quebec. He brought me here. "Why are you here?" I asked. "Oh, Uncle asked me to give Duanmu Gidge some documents." Yu Xian sat across from me. "You really don't listen to me." I immediately understood what Yu Xian meant. What's there to listen to? I'm already married to Duanmu, Quebec. I'm his legal wife. It's normal for me to be with him. But you don't love him. Yu Xian stood up and walked to Duan Mukei's computer. She raised her head and looked at me. "You don't even know what he needs. What qualifications do you have to stand by his side? Whether I love him or not, I don't feel the need to answer you. You also don't have the right to interfere in our lives." Yu Xian wasn't a simple woman. "Haha, is that so?" Yu Xian sneered. She lowered her head and fiddled with the computer. I stood up and walked to Yu Xian. I shouted at her, "What are you doing?" She ignored me and casually tapped a few keys on the computer. The computer unlocked the password. I was surprised. How did she know the password to Duan Mukei's computer? She smiled at me and walked past me to sit on the sofa. Just as I was about to open my mouth and question her, the office door was pushed open. Duan Mukei had just finished his meeting and walked in. He first saw Yu Xian and smiled at her. Then he turned around and saw me standing at his desk. His expression instantly became serious. Chapter 16. Duanmu K walked in front of me and glanced at the computer screen. He glanced at UXIN and finally at me. Then, he turned off the computer and said, "I'm done. Let's go." He pulled me towards the door. As we walked past UXIN, Duanmu K glanced at UXIN. "You go back first. We have something to do." Then, he pulled me out of the office. I glanced at UXIN. Her eyes were as cold as ever. Duanmu K and I didn't speak on the way back. He didn't let go of my hand. The awkwardness of the silence made me very nervous. Would he think that I was the one who touched his computer? Would he think that I had stolen the files on his computer? If that was the case, I wouldn't have a chance to do it again in the future. When we got in the car, my heart was still in a mess. Duanmu K sat next to me. I could feel that his mood was very complicated. "Xiaoli, you weren't the one who touched my computer, were you?" Duanmu K looked at me. I turned to look at him and shook my head hard. If I had really done it, I would definitely admit it. If I hadn't done it, I definitely wouldn't admit it. I guessed it. It was UXIN. He turned his head, and his expression was very serious. She wasn't like this in the past. I knew that she was pitiful, so I loved her very much. Since we were young, I always treated her like my little sister. She was also very dependent on me. If I wanted to do something behind her back, I could always feel the loneliness in her eyes. So, I never kept any secrets from her. But as we grew up, she changed from relying on me to monitoring me. This kind of feeling sometimes makes me very afraid. But when I think of her eyes, my heart softens again. Duanmu K used his hand to cover his eyes and leaned his head back against the seat. Looking at Duanmu K's disappointed expression, I understood that UXIN had been pestering Duanmu, Quebec. Although I could guess that UXIN had a crush on the Duanmu K with a woman's intuition, from Duanmu K's expression, his feelings for UXIN were definitely a kind of familial love. I thought that UXIN didn't know what the Duanmu K really thought of her. If she had known, she wouldn't have sent the driver to mess with me. However, looking at Duanmu K's tired face, I didn't know why, but my heart felt very uncomfortable. I reached out and gently stroked his face. He held my hand and closed his eyes as he leaned against my hand. "Xiaoli, you give me a very special feeling. I feel very comfortable when I'm by your side." He looked at me. "Last night, I really wanted to have sex with you." Hearing Duanmu K act like a hooligan in all seriousness, my face darkened again. He was always like this. Just as I was about to pull my hand away from his face, he grabbed it and pulled me into his embrace. This feeling of being real is really good. He buried his head in my neck and hugged me tighter. I really cherish the identity I have now. I always have a feeling that you don't belong to me. Even though I'm hugging you like this, your heart has never belonged to me. I said. Duanmu K's words touched my heart deeply. I lifted my head and looked at him. "Do you say that to all the women around you?" Duanmu K looked serious. "I've only said that to you. I've never said that to any of them." "Then, what have you said to them?" I looked at Duanmu K in disdain. "It's not like that, Xiaoli." He held my shoulder and said seriously, "I did have sex with a few women in the past. However, it was when I was dating them. Of course, there were some women that I didn't touch at all. They were all rumors. Later on, the rumors became more and more ridiculous. In the end, they even said that I was a promiscuous person." I looked at his serious face and burst out laughing. He looked at me and laughed even harder. "I'm telling the truth. I'm not lying to you." I laughed even harder. Okay. I believe you. Let's go. Let's go home." Duanmu K cupped my face and kissed me gently. It was lucky that he didn't suspect me. Thinking about what UXIN had done to me, I sank into deep thought. I decided to be careful of this woman. Her love for Duanmu K could lead her to frame me. If my plan was disrupted because of her, my father would be very disappointed in me. Duanmu K drove me home. When we entered the house, Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengya were chatting in the living room. UXIN was sitting next to them, reading a book. Duanmu K greeted Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengya. Then, He went upstairs to change his clothes. I sat next to Xiao Fengya and told her about some interesting things we had encountered while shopping for clothes. Duan Mutachio told me about some things that we would be going back to my house the day after tomorrow. Then he asked me to bring some documents to my father. I agreed. During the whole process, Uxin sat on the side and didn't raise her head to look at us. I glanced at her from the corner of my eyes. Her facial expression wasn't very good. After dinner, Duan Muke and Duan Mutachio went to the study to discuss some matters. Uxin said that she had something to do and hadn't returned yet. Xiao Fengya met a few friends to play cards in the lounge. I wandered around the garden alone. Unknowingly, I walked to the place where I met Uxin in the morning, thinking about how she first put the scissors in front of my neck and then opened Duan Muke's computer to let Duan Muke think that I intentionally stole his documents. I felt a bit angry. No matter how pitiful her life was, she couldn't do whatever she wanted just because everyone sympathized with her. I gently touched the flowers in the flower bed. They were blooming beautifully. Xiaoli, is that you? I heard someone call my name. I raised my head and saw Han Hao. It's me. Why are you here? I walked over to him. Thinking about what Duan Muke had said to me yesterday, I deliberately kept a certain distance from him. Han Hao was stunned for a moment, then said to me, I came to give some information to Uncle. Also, I wanted to talk to Duan Muke about the banquet next month. How was it? Did you rest well yesterday? He was still as gentle as ever. And pretty good. Dad and Duan Muke are discussing something in the study. If you're not in a hurry, you can wait in the living room. I pointed in the direction of the sofa in the room. It's fine. I'm not in a hurry. I'll stay with you for a while. He smiled and said to me. I nodded. Okay. Today, I heard people talking about what happened at the shopping center. Are you okay? It seems the news spread really fast. It had already spread to Kurosawa. Just as I was about to open my mouth to reply, I heard a voice from the door. She's fine. We turned around and saw Duan Muke standing at the door looking at us. Chapter 17. Duan Mu. Han Hao greeted Duan Muke with a smile. Duan Muke walked toward us. He glanced at me, then at Han Hao. Wife, you go in first. I have something to say to Han Hao. I glanced at Han Hao, then at Duan Mu Quebec. I walked into the room, but I was curious as to what Duan Muke would say to Han Hao. I turned around and walked through the side door to the back of the flower bed. I found a place close to the two of them and hid there. The two of them looked at each other for a while. If one didn't know that both of them were straight, it would be easy to mistake them for flirting with each other. Of course, it was Han Hao who spoke first. Since you've come out, I'll have to trouble you to give this document to your uncle. I won't go in. Han Hao handed the document to Duan Mu Quebec. Duan Mu K didn't take the document from Han Hao. He kept staring at him. Han Hao, do you like cold glaze? Duan Mu K straightforwardly asked this question. I secretly scolded him for being an idiot in my heart, but I was also curious as to how Han Hao would answer him. Han Hao furrowed his brows and looked at Duan Mu Quebec. Duan Mu K, you think too much. Don't worry about whether I think too much or not. There's no one else here. Tell me the truth. Duan Mu K forced Han Hao into a dead end. Okay, I'll admit it. I have a good impression of her. I like her free and easy personality, and I like her when she's quiet. When Han Hao said those words, my heart trembled. I hadn't expected him to really like me. But she's my woman. Duan Mu K looked at him and said decisively, I know. But feelings aren't something I can control. Although I like her, I've never told her. Han Hao, I see you as my brother. My father and I know about the relationship between your family and the Long family. Even so, we've been at ease handing over some of our business to your family. I don't want our relationship to break because of Xiaoli. Duan Muke was right. The two of them could be considered the best of friends. The fact that he could freely enter and leave Duan Mu's home showed how much trust the Duan Mu family had in Han Hao. I understand all of that, so I've always kept it hidden in my heart. Han Hao put his hand on Duanmu Kei's shoulder. Kei, Xiaoli isn't like the other women around you. If you have a good impression of her, then don't hurt her. Duanmu Kei shook off his hand. Han Hao, you're meddling too much. She's already my woman. No matter what happens to her, you shouldn't interfere. It has nothing to do with you. As I said, don't let her affect our relationship. You don't understand how to love someone. Han Hao shook his head in disappointment. Duanmu Kei looked up at the window in our bedroom. At least for now, I still want her to stay by my side. Duanmu Kei's word surprised me. Could it be that he had feelings for me? He turned to look at Han Hao. You know, on the day of the wedding, I purposely picked a dress that was too big for her to wear. Then, during the toast, I set her up, wanting to embarrass her. But when I saw you helping her out, I felt very uncomfortable. When I returned to the dressing room and saw her angry face, I suddenly had a desire to possess her. When I got close to her, I noticed the special look in her eyes. It made my desire for her reignite. When I heard Duanmu Kei's words, I covered my mouth in shock. I was afraid I'd scream. At that time, he had put in so much effort to torment me. Duanmu Kei continued. Han Hao, in fact, I've long since discovered your feelings for her. If it were any other woman, I would definitely give her to you. But if it's Xiaoli, I'm sorry, I can't give her to you. Why? Han Hao didn't understand. Duanmu Kei looked at him and said, in public, our marriage has already become a fact. The marriage contract agreement has already taken effect. If we say that because of your interference, our marriage will be destroyed, and the agreement will become null and void, can you compensate for these losses with your life alone? Even if I don't pursue the matter, do you think my father and the Red Minghui won't cause trouble for you? And you want to take Xiao Li along with you? In private, she and I are already married. They say you shouldn't covet your friend's wife. If you steal my woman, what kind of explanation will you give me? Besides, if we really fall out, is it you who's a bigger threat to me? Or is it me who's a bigger threat to you? Han Hao didn't speak. He thought about it carefully. Duanmu Kei's words made sense. He had thought things through very thoroughly. Han Hao lowered his head. Believe me, I won't let her down. Duanmu Kei patted Han Hao's shoulder. Han Hao handed the document to Duanmu Kei and left. Looking at Han Hao's back, I felt very uncomfortable. He met the wrong person at the wrong time. If Han Hao hadn't met me, he wouldn't be so distressed. After Han Hao left, Duanmu Kei also returned to the house. He probably went to deliver the document to Duanmu Tachio. I got up and patted the dirt off my body. Just as I was about to leave, I raised my head and saw you Xin hiding under a tree across the flower bed. She must have heard the conversation between Han Hao and Duanmu Quebec. I stood there without moving. You Xin crossed her arms and walked towards me. She stopped in front of me and looked at me with her cold face. What's the matter? I asked. She didn't speak. She reached out and held my chin. She looked at me and said, what's so good about you? Duanmu, Gij cares so much about you. Even Han Hao Gij likes you. I shook off her hand and looked at her angrily. You don't need to be nervous. If I wanted to harm you, I wouldn't be so stupid as to harm you here. Today, I was too impatient. I forgot that this was the first time you entered Duanmu Gij's office, so I exposed myself. When you Xin said these words, her expression was very calm. You Xin, I don't want to steal anything from you, nor do I want to harm you or your family. I also don't expect you to treat me well. I just want you to control your emotions. If you do something excessive to me again, don't blame me for being impolite. I warned you Xin. Unexpectedly, after hearing these words, you Xin laughed out loud and said, so what? Miss Lung, this isn't your Lung family. For this family, you are an outsider. Do you really think that Auntie Xiao and Uncle Duanmu are really good to you? There's no need to even mention Duanmu Gij. He doesn't like you at all. He's just putting on a show with you. A few simple sweet words and honeyed words were enough to make you fall in love with him. Just how narcissistic are you? UXIN, I've already said what I wanted to say to you. You can think whatever you want. No matter what, I am Duanmukei's real wife, and the woman sleeping next to him. I am also the young madam of the Duanmu family. As for you, for this family, you are just an adopted daughter. Chapter 18. UXIN looked at me, with a very serious expression. Long Yuli, don't be happy too early. Sooner or later, you will pay the price for what you said today. She turned and left after saying that. I looked at UXIN's back and felt uncomfortable. Fortunately, I now knew what she was really thinking. I just needed to be careful in the future. But then again, when I thought about what Duanmukei had said to Han, my heart was moved. I didn't know why, but I felt that he wasn't as annoying as before. Whenever I thought of him, I would think of his gentle eyes. Could it be that I had a good impression of him? After walking around the flower bed for a while, I went upstairs. When I returned to my room, I saw Duanmukei sitting by the window, looking out. He didn't say anything when he saw me come in. How much do you like to stare blankly out the window? I leaned against the door and looked at him. Looking at him like this, Duanmukei's quiet appearance was quite pleasing to the eye. To be honest, I liked this side of him. He looked at me, then looked out the window again. Of course, only when there's something nice to look at. I walked to the window and looked around. I didn't see anything special. I leaned against the window. This is nothing. Hey, look over there. He raised his hand and pointed at a place. I followed his finger and saw that he was pointing at the place where I had been eavesdropping on them and talking to UXIN. I was stunned. He laughed. He stood up and walked behind me to hug me. Did you hear what I said to Han? How? I thought for a while, then nodded. If he knew that place, he must have guessed that I was hiding there and eavesdropping. He lowered his head and pressed his face against mine. Everything I said is true. He kissed my cheek. Actually, it's not that you can't hear it. It's just that I'm a bit embarrassed. I smiled. Young Master Duanmu has moments when he's embarrassed. I felt his heartbeat and my heart felt at ease. But I can't say these words in front of you. Actually, this is the real you, right? The you I saw before was all an act. No, I became like this because of you. I turned to face him and looked into his eyes. At least, it was a gaze that only I could see. I opened my arms and threw myself into his arms. Duanmukei took the opportunity to hug me. I hugged him tightly and kissed his lips deeply. He touched my face and looked at me, very gently. I leaned against his chest and listened to his heartbeat quietly. I stroked his chest. I have a favor to ask of you. What is it? He hugged me tightly. I may have to ask you to take care of me for the rest of my life. Duanmukei hugged me. I hooked my arms around his neck. He looked at me with a happy face. I do. Duanmukei carried me onto the bed. I was willing to spend the night with him. I was willing to give my heart to him. I didn't know what would happen in the future, but at least for now, I was willing to be with him. Now that I thought about it, my meeting with Duanmukei was fate's arrangement. Since I couldn't go against fate's arrangement, and Duanmukei seemed to treat me well, why should I deliberately keep a certain distance? That night, Duanmukei and I slept soundly in each other's arms. It was already morning, but neither of us was willing to get up. The nanny knocked on the door twice to ask us to go downstairs for breakfast, but Duanmukei found an excuse to evade her. The two of us lay face to face on the bed. Our eyes met. He hugged me and told me some of the interesting things that had happened to him since he was young. He also told me some of Han's embarrassing stories. From time to time, he would even make a prank. Looking at his funny face, I laughed so hard that my stomach hurt. He saw that I was laughing very happily, so he laughed too. Then, he pulled me into his arms and gently stroked my hair. Let's get up. We are going back to your house today. If Duanmukei hadn't mentioned it, I would have forgotten. Today was indeed the day we were going back to my house. Yeah, I would have forgotten if you hadn't mentioned it. Let's get up and get ready. I have a request. Duanmukei rolled over and laid on top of me. Promise me first. I looked at his shameless face and guessed that it wasn't anything good. Tell me first. Then I will consider whether to promise you or not. No, promise me first. If you don't promise me, I won't get up. He began to act shamelessly again, rubbing his whole body against mine. I had no choice but to compromise. Okay. I promise you. I pushed him hard. Really? That's great. Duanmukei's eyes began to sparkle. Let's take a bath together. He looked at me with anticipation. As expected, it wasn't anything good. I pushed him hard. I don't want to. I refuse. He suddenly stood up and stood naked in front of me. I quickly covered my eyes. Why does this guy like to run around naked? He carried me in his arms. I didn't have time to cover myself, so I was naked in front of him. I quickly covered my private parts with my hands. Duanmukei looked at my panicked face and laughed. I don't care. You have to keep your word. Let's go and take a bath. Duanmukei was afraid that I would run away, so he took big strides to the bathroom. He put me away from the shower head and turned on the water valve. Because he had just turned on the valve, the water wasn't hot yet. He stood under the water in front of me, afraid that the cold water would hit me. After a while, the water gradually heated up. He pulled me under the water and gently rubbed my back. I touched his back with my hand. It was very cold from the cold water. I caught some hot water with my hand and gently patted his back. I'm not cold. He smiled at me. I suddenly had an idea. I knocked on his head. Why do you have so many ideas this morning? He blinked at me with a bashful and perverted expression. He came over and hugged me. Brain woman, I have a reaction again. Why don't we do it here? Mm. My face darkened, and I pinched his waist hard. He grimaced in pain. I'm going to tell my father-in-law that you bullied his handsome and cute son-in-law. I looked at him with a cold face and shot him a glance. I wasn't sure if I had really used too much strength, but he crouched under the shower head, holding his waist and letting the water hit him. I noticed that something was wrong. I quickly crouched down and touched his head. What's wrong? Did I hurt you? Are you okay? Let me see. Duanmukei didn't raise his head. He didn't answer me either. I was a little anxious, so I pulled him up with some effort. He kept his head down, and water dripped from his wet hair. I pressed my hand on his hand that was covering his waist. Let me see. It's my fault. I didn't think I'd hurt you. Chapter 19. Duanmukei didn't answer. He was still holding his waist. I quickly turned off the faucet and grabbed a towel to wipe the water off his head and body. When I was almost dry, I said to him, All right, it's about time. Go out and put on some clothes. I'll apply some medicine for you later. Just as I was about to hang the towel on the drying rack, he suddenly hugged me and pressed me against the wall. What are you doing? You scared me. I patted my chest and said. Duanmukei lifted his head and looked at me with an innocent and wronged expression. It hurts. His voice trilled. It was obvious that he was acting cute. I looked at his expression and shook my head helplessly. There was nothing I could do. It was my own fault. I ruffled his hair. All right. I was wrong. Tell me, how do you want me to make up to you? Countless requests Duanmukei might make flashed through my mind. I want a kiss. They say that women are cute when they act cute. A 1.8-meter man acting cute in front of you, you really can't stand it. But there was nothing I could do. I promised him that I would make it up to him. I couldn't go back on my word. I cupped his face and kissed his lips. Then I looked into his eyes. Is this enough? Duanmukei smacked his lips and rolled his eyes. Then he looked at me and shook his head vigorously. It was obvious that he wasn't satisfied. I was hopeless and resigned myself to my fate. He looked at me and burst out laughing. Then he pulled me into his arms. I don't care. You owe me a compensation. I'll remember that. I can't do anything to you. Do whatever you want. I fell into his arms. He stroked my hair. I told you not to be angry. At first, I wanted you to make up to me by taking a bath together. But I was afraid that you would hit me even harder. So I changed it. Ha ha. Look at how smart I am. He looked at me with a smug expression. I am completely speechless. What else can this guy think of other than having sex in his head? Forget it, forget it. I'd better not beat him up. If I were to beat him up, I'd have to coax him. Duan K threw a tantrum in the bathroom for a long time before he finally finished showering. When he came out, he threw a tantrum like a child and insisted that I help him put on his clothes. If I didn't help him put on his clothes, he wouldn't go out. I couldn't understand why a person with such a high status, good looks, good figure, and high IQ like him would have a hobby of running around naked. I really didn't want to see him run around the room naked, so I couldn't help but help him get dressed. After the two of us cleaned up, we went downstairs. When we walked out of the room, we could clearly feel that Duan K was different from before. He had regained his usual arrogant and cold expression. I knew that it was because of his personality, but those who didn't know would think that he had schizophrenia. The two of us greeted Duan Tachio and Xiao Fengya. Duan Tachio gave me the documents I wanted to give to my father and told me to bring them to him. The two of us ate a simple meal and then headed back to my house. Originally, Xiao Fengya wanted to arrange for a driver to take us back, but Duan K refused. He said that he might have to stay at my house for a few days. It would be inconvenient if his phone crashed. It would be easier if he drove himself. Thus, the two of us drove back to my house. When we arrived at the entrance, the whole family was waiting for us. After getting off the car, I directly threw myself into my mother's arms. My father nodded to me and pulled Duan K's hand into the house. After entering the living room, I remembered what Duan Tachio had told me. I took out the documents and handed them to my father. After he opened them, he called Duan K to the study. I held my mother's arm and told her what had happened in the past few days. I told her that Duan Tachio and Xiao Fengya had treated me well. Of course, I also told her about my wedding night with the Duan Quebec. When my mother heard that the Duan K had treated me well, she was relieved. As a mother, she always worried about her child, especially when I wasn't by her side. I didn't tell her about Han Hao. After all, I had sealed him in the bottom of my heart. Afterward, I told my mother about UXIN in detail. After listening to my story, my mother had the same opinion as me. She wasn't a simple woman. She might become the enemy I would have to face in that house. After talking with my mother for a while, I glanced at my watch. It was almost time for dinner. I pulled my mother's hand and said, "Mom, I want to cook a meal today. Can I? I want to cook your and Dad's favorite dish, pine nut fish." "Okay, Mom will help you." My mother smiled and said to me, fortunately, the nanny usually bought enough food, so the house had all the necessary ingredients. I arranged the ingredients that I could use and began to prepare. My mother helped me while we talked and laughed in the kitchen. After a while, we finally made a table full of dishes. They all looked very good. I was very satisfied with my cooking skills. Since I was a child, I liked to make delicious food. After a long time, it had become my specialty. After tidying up, I went to the study and knocked on the door. Then, I pushed the door open and walked in. My father and Duan K were still sitting there, talking and laughing. When Duan K saw me come in, he stood up and ran to me, hugging me. I pushed him, wanting him to let go. "What are you doing? Be careful. My father is here." He didn't seem to want to let go. "Li'er, don't be like this. He's like this because he likes you." I looked at my father and then looked at Duan Quebec. I thought to myself, what did he do? How did he get along with his father-in-law so quickly? "Dad, it's time to eat." I struggled to get away from Duan K's big hand. "Okay, let's go." We went to the dining table. Seeing the table full of dishes, Duan K couldn't help but cheer. "Mom, you're too kind. You made a table full of dishes." Mother smiled at Duan K and said, "It's okay, it's okay. It's rare for you to come back. Eat more. Try it." Here, especially this pine nut fish. Try it. Mother placed a pine nut fish in front of Duanmu, Quebec. Duanmu K used his chopsticks to pick up a piece of fish and put it in his mouth. He tasted it carefully. Mom, it's delicious. It's really delicious. My mother and I looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Seeing the two of us laugh, my father also laughed. Only Duanmu K still had his head lowered as he ate. Even though his mouth was stuffed with food, he didn't forget to say, "Ma, this is too delicious. Every dish is delicious. It's as delicious as the food that my family chef made. No, it's better than the food that my chef made. If it's delicious, eat more. As long as you like it, it's fine." My mother smiled. "Mom, did you make it? It's too delicious." Duanmu K raised his head and looked at my mother. Chapter 20. Mother waved her hand at Duanmu, Quebec. Of course, I didn't make it. Li-er made it. Huh? Duanmu K looked at me in surprise. Wow, so she can cook. I didn't know. Father smiled. Li-er lives abroad. Whenever she comes back, she always asks to cook for us. You're lucky. Her cooking skills are really good. I nodded at him to show that I agreed with my father. Duanmu K looked at me with admiration. It was obvious that he was a foodie. We chatted while eating. When we were almost done, Duanmu K put down his chopsticks. Dad, Mom, Xiao Li and I want to stay at home for 2 more days. Is that okay? His mother nodded. Yes. But have you told your parents? Yeah, I did. We're going to go on our honeymoon when we get home. So, we want to stay for a few more days. Okay, I'll ask my auntie to clean up the guest room for you. Li-er's room is a little small. Mother called the housekeeper over. Mom, it's okay. I'll sleep with Xiao Li. He put his hand on my shoulder and smirked. Who wants to sleep with you? You sleep in the guest room and I'll sleep in my room. I rolled my eyes at him. Unexpectedly, he turned to look at my mother with an innocent face. Then he looked at my father. His eyes were full of pity, and I felt like he was going to cry. Li-er, don't be stubborn. I'll ask the auntie to clean up. Mother asked the housekeeper to go upstairs to clean up the room. Duanmu K looked at me with a triumphant expression. I had to get used to his childish personality. After dinner, our family sat together and chatted for a while. Then a phone call came. Father took Mother out, saying that they had an urgent meeting. Duanmu K and I were left at home. I saw that the weather outside was pretty good, so I pulled Duanmu K to the garden outside for a stroll. Her mother loved roses the most. Her father had specially built a very large flower pond in the open space outside the villa. It was filled with roses, and there were gardeners taking care of it every day. After a long time, the sea of flowers at home spread among the upper class of a city. Some people came to visit because of its reputation. As long as they really came to appreciate the flowers, Mother would warmly welcome them. I pulled Duanmu K to the edge of the flower pond. Isn't this flower pond beautiful? Yes, she's very beautiful. I've heard of her before. Didn't the daughter of the chairman of a media company come here to take a photo and become famous? Yes, this is it. This is a gift from my father to my mother. He loved my mother very much. I bent down and stroked a flower. Oh, you're trying to tell me something, aren't you? Bad girl? Duanmu K ruffled my hair. No, I believe that you will be good to me because you promised me. If you go back on your word, I have corresponding measures. I turned and gave him an evil smile. He touched his face with both hands. Oh my God, you're not going to murder your husband, are you? Father Lung, come and save your poor and lovely son-in-law. Your daughter wants to kill me. Help. I was speechless as I watched Duanmu K put on a show next to me. He expressed all kinds of emotions incisively and vividly. I had to say that it would be a loss for the entertainment industry if he didn't enter the entertainment industry. I didn't say anything. I stood next to him and watched him play a few roles. One moment he acted as my father, the next moment he acted as me, and then he acted as himself. The gist of the story was that he had asked my father for help, saying that I wanted to kill him. My father had protected him and then taught me a lesson. Seeing him act so exaggeratedly, I couldn't help but laugh. All right. I didn't say that I was going to do anything to you. Why are you so agitated? I patted his shoulder. Duamuke reached out and hugged me. I can't play with you. You have a special charm that deeply attracts me. Although it might feel fake if I say that I love you now, I have you in my heart, in the deepest part of my heart. If sweet talk was a necessary skill for a man to flirt with a girl, then I was willing to indulge in Duanmuke's sweet talk. He was really good to me. We decided to do all the things that couples should do when they were dating. A few days before the vacation, we watched a few movies. We watched all the movies that were on the schedule. Originally, he wanted to book the whole theater, but I refused. After all, the atmosphere in the theater was better when there were more people. Like other couples, we tasted all kinds of delicacies at the roadside food stalls. Once, we went to a very popular restaurant. I pretended to buy something, leaving him alone in his seat. Then, I hid in a corner and watched him from afar. Many beautiful women went to talk to him, but he found an excuse to drive them away. I pretended to finish shopping and returned to my seat. Then, I looked at his idle expression and couldn't help but laugh. When I saw his disdainful expression, I laughed even more happily. After that, the two of us did a lot of things. Every day, we would return home exhausted. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was the day we would fly to America for our honeymoon. That night, the two of us lay down early and prepared to sleep. Duanmuke hugged me in his arms and gently patted my back. Shaoli, I've been very happy these 2 days, he said softly. I opened my eyes and looked at him. Why do you say that? I didn't feel like this before. He stroked my hair. Then what was it like before? In the past, the women around me were either timid. They were afraid of doing something wrong and making me unhappy, so they did whatever I said. Or, when we went out, they would drag me to go shopping or attend all kinds of parties. They used me as a sign. There was no one like you who had the same personality as me, and who could play with me. He cupped my face. So, after I got you, I treasured you very much. I was afraid that you would run away. I smiled and said, where can I run to? If I run, the marriage contract will automatically be terminated. At that time, our two families will become enemies. Hey, can we not talk about that deal? It's ruining the atmosphere. Anyway, you're enough. This time, we're going to America. I also want to see the environment you used to live in. That way, I can get to know you better. After all, I don't know anything except that you like me. He kissed my forehead. I knocked his forehead. Narcissistic again. Who said I like you? I didn't say that. He looked at me innocently. You are irresponsible. That day, you slept with me. You said that you would be responsible for me. Now, you don't keep your word. I don't care. I will blame you. Chapter 21. Looking at Duanmuke's innocent face, I smiled and leaned into his embrace. Good boy, let's go to sleep. Duanmuke hugged me, and the two of us gradually fell asleep. The next morning, Duanmuke woke up early. Before I got up, he had already packed our luggage. After packing, we went downstairs to eat breakfast with our parents. The old couple gave us some simple instructions, and then Duanmuke and I officially left for our honeymoon. When we arrived at the airport, Duanmuke contacted his home phone and drove the car back. I contacted Jiang Qing of the Red Minghui's North American branch in New York and told him about our itinerary. Jiang Qing was my most capable assistant in managing the North American branch. Although he was younger than me by 3 years, he was very smart. His father had always been my father's subordinate. After Jiang Qing grew up, his father recommended him to the Red Minghui. When I took over the North American branch, because he was about the same age as me, I took him with me abroad and arranged for him to finish his studies with me. Later, when I received a call from my father, he urgently called me back. There was no one to manage the North American branch, so Jiangqing's father took over. Speaking of which, he and I hadn't seen each other for a while. Although we couldn't send each other a video call, we were usually very busy, so I was very happy to be able to go back and see him. After a 12-hour flight, we finally landed at JFK Airport. The two of us took our luggage and walked out of the airport. As soon as we walked out, we saw a handsome boy wearing a white t-shirt and ripped jeans. He looked very fashionable and handsome, standing there with headphones on and playing with his phone. Besides Jiangqing, no one around me would dress like this. I smiled and walked over to him, patting his shoulder. When he turned his head and saw me, he was pleasantly surprised. Big sis. Jiangqing opened his arms and threw himself at me. I couldn't dodge in time, and his whole body landed on me. Big sis. I missed you so much. You're finally back. Jiangqing hugged me and shook me vigorously. I felt like my head was spinning and I was seeing stars. I felt like vomiting everything I ate on the plane. At this moment, Duanmuke walked towards us with a bunch of stuff in his hands. He deliberately coughed. Ahem. Jiangqing looked at him and released me. Then he turned to me and asked, Big sister, is this brother-in-law? I nodded at him. Wow, brother-in-law is so handsome. Hello, brother-in-law, I'm Jiangqing. Wow, brother-in-law, you have such a good figure. You look so handsome in casual clothes. Jiangqing then pounced on Duanmu Quebec. First, she gave him a big hug. Then, she grabbed his hand and couldn't stop praising him. Duanmuke blinked at me a few times. I knew that he was asking me for help. Jiangqing, come here. I crooked my finger at Jiangqing, and he ran over. Why are you so blind? There's so much luggage, and you didn't even help us carry it. I was too excited to see you. Wait a moment. Jiangqing turned and snapped his fingers. A few people got out of the two cars and helped us load our luggage. Jiangqing looked at me with a proud expression. Not bad, not bad. Keep it up. I patted Jiangqing's shoulder and pulled Duanmu K into the car. On the way to the Red Minghui branch, Jiangqing talked nonstop about all the interesting things that happened while I was gone. I secretly moved closer to Duanmu K's ear. I think you and Jiangqing are quite similar sometimes. He looked at me with a puzzled expression. How so? We're both like children. But there's a difference. He's always like a child. You only look like a child when you're with me. I covered my mouth and couldn't help but laugh. Duanmuke straightened out his clothes. I'm not childish. Seeing him pretending to be mature, I laughed even harder. Jiangqing saw us laughing and curiously asked us what we were laughing about. We didn't answer. He was so anxious that his face turned red. We laughed and talked until we arrived at the Red Minghui North American Branches Hall. Uncle Jiang had already brought a group of people to the entrance to welcome us. I got out of the car, and Uncle Jiang greeted me. Shaoli, niece, you're back. How are big brother and sister-in-law? Uncle Jiang, long time no see. Father and mother are doing well. Uncle Jiang, this is Duanmuke from the Kurosawa. I'm sure you've heard that we're married. I introduced Duanmuke to Uncle Jiang. Yes, I've heard. Uncle Jiang turned to face Duanmu Quebec. Hello, I'm Jiang Guofeng. Hello, Uncle Jiang. I've heard my father mention you. He thinks highly of your strength. Duanmu K extended his hand in greeting. Haha, thank you. Uncle Jiang shook hands with Duanmu Quebec. Jiangqing suddenly said, Let's not stand outside like idiots. Let's go in and sit down. We entered the hall. I glanced around. It was still the same as when I left. I asked Uncle Jiang and Jiangqing about the situation in the Red Minghui Club while I was gone. I also told them about the situation in the headquarters. Duanmuke also told Uncle Jiang about the Black Nightmare Society's thoughts on foreign trade. Uncle Jiang also expressed that he thought it was feasible, and the few of them had a joyous discussion. When we were almost done talking about business, Uncle Jiang suddenly asked me, Niece Shaoli, how long are you planning to stay this time? I thought for a moment. Uncle Jiang, Duanmuke and I are here for our honeymoon. When we've had enough fun, we'll go back. About half a month to a month. We haven't decided yet. Okay, that's fine. I'll make the arrangements tonight. We'll go out for a meal. I've already arranged for your rooms. I didn't arrange it for you in the Red Minghui Club, but I prepared a villa for you nearby. You can go take a look. If you need anything, tell me, and I'll go buy it for you. Uncle Jiang handed me a key. Thank you, Uncle Jiang. We'll go rest first. Of course. When it's time, I'll send someone to pick you up. Uncle Jiang patted my shoulder. Uncle Jiang arranged for someone to take us to the villa that had been arranged for us. We entered the house. It was fully furnished. If we wanted to stay here for a long time, it would be possible. I put down my backpack and lay down on the sofa. The fatigue from the trip made me feel drowsy. Duan Muke sat next to me and gently rubbed my head. It was very comfortable. Did you learn how to massage? Your technique is pretty good. I gave him a thumbs up. As he rubbed my head, he said, I used to massage my mother a lot. After a long time, I learned how to do it. These past 2 days must have been tiring for you. Let me give you a massage too. I sat up and pushed Duan Muke down on the sofa. I began to massage his shoulders. Chapter 22. Although his technique wasn't as good as Duan Muke's, he still closed his eyes and enjoyed it. It didn't look like he was particularly bad at it. After pressing for a while, Duan Muke opened his eyes and looked at me. That Jiang Qing, what's his relationship with you? Jiang Qing. His father is one of the founding members of our Red Tea Society. When Jiang Qing came of age, he sent him to our society. At that time, I had just taken over this branch and needed more manpower. Father saw that he was about the same age as me and that he was good at his job, so he sent him to me. Now he can be considered the second in command of this branch. Why are you asking about him? I asked as I squeezed his shoulder. Why do I feel like he has feelings for you? Duan Muke rolled over on the sofa and looked at me. Don't joke around. He's a few years younger than me. And look at him. He looks like he hasn't grown up yet. He's like this every day. But don't look at him like that. He's very popular with women. Just like you, he's always changing girlfriends. I laughed. Duan Muke furrowed his brows and pulled me into his arms. My entire body pressed against his. I don't always change girlfriends. You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? He saw that I wanted to slip away, so he hugged me tightly and wouldn't let go. I laughed until my stomach hurt. In the end, I laughed until I didn't have any strength left, so I laid on top of him. Duan Muke gently stroked my hair and patted my back. Just like that, the two of us fell into a deep sleep. In the evening, Jiang Qing's phone call disturbed our sweet dreams. The driver was already waiting for us outside the door. The two of us quickly tidied up and left. We sped all the way to a hotel under the name of the Red Minghui. Jiang Qing was already waiting for us at the entrance. Under his guidance, we entered the hotel lobby. A group of people walked toward us. Among them was a tall and sexy woman. She looked at us blankly for a moment, then walked toward us with a smile. Duan Muke, what a coincidence. The woman walked directly in front of Duanmu, Quebec. Duanmu, K glanced at her. Without saying a word, he took my hand. What? You don't recognize me? Is it because you've slept with too many women that you've forgotten too quickly? The woman stretched out her left hand. There was a long scar on her left wrist. It looked like she had committed suicide. Then you should remember this. Duan Muke looked at her wrist and then at her. LV Sishue, what do you want to say? It turned out that this woman was called LV Sishue. It seemed that she should be one of Duan Muke's ex-girlfriends. Was she looking for trouble with the Duan Muke? Jiang Qing saw that the situation wasn't right, so he stood in front of Duanmu, Quebec. Beautiful lady, we still have some business to take care of. If you really need anything, just use this address to find me. He handed over a business card to her. LV Sishua looked at Jiang Qing and then at Duanmu, Quebec. I'm talking to him. Who gave you the right to interrupt? I saw that this situation wasn't something that Jiang Qing could solve. So I reached out and grabbed Duan Mukei's arm. Hubby, let's go upstairs. Uncle Jiang is waiting for us, okay? I winked at Duan Mukei, indicating that he shouldn't pay attention to this woman. The woman looked at me with an arrogant expression. I was wondering why you were pretending not to know me. So you have a new lover. But when did your taste become so bad? As soon as Jiang Qing saw that she was slandering me, he became anxious. He immediately called a few people over and indicated that they should pull LV Sishue away. While they were struggling, a few people came down from upstairs. The leader was a tall and sturdy middle-aged man with a body full of tattoos and a scar on his face. He shouted, "Let go." We all looked up at them. He walked in front of Jiang Qing with a ferocious expression. He hugged LV Sishue and said, "Babe, what happened?" LV Sishue leaned against the man's chest with an aggrieved expression. They bullied me. Because I didn't give way to them, they wanted to beat me. Look, my arm is bruised. She stretched out her arm. The man glared at Jiang Qing. Huh, give me an explanation, young man. Jiang Qing's face turned red. He was so angry that he couldn't speak. One of the men behind the man reached out to hit Jiang Qing. I stepped forward and pulled Jiang Qing back. I reached out and flung away the fist that was coming at me. The man's expression became even more ferocious. He let go of LV Sishue and walked towards me with his fists clenched. He was too tall. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to beat him. While I was thinking about how to deal with him, Duan Mukei suddenly stood in front of me. He stood in front of me and stared at the man. The man suddenly raised his fist and punched Duan Mukei stood there without moving. Stop. The man stopped his fist. It was only 10 centimeters away from Duan Mukei's handsome face. We looked up and saw Uncle Jiang walking down the stairs with a few people. Uncle Jiang walked between us. He looked at them and then at us. Then he turned to the man and said, "Wang Meng, even though our families don't usually interact, what is the meaning of you making a scene at my place today? Jiang Guofeng, take care of your people." He glared at Duan Mukei. What? You want to continue? This is Red Minghui territory. Do you think you can escape unscathed? Uncle Jiang also glared at him. Okay, I'll give you face this time. Remember, you won't be so lucky next time. Let's go. Wang Meng turned and left. LV Sishue walked in front of Duan Mukei. Remember, I won't give up so easily. Watching her leave, Duan Mukei's expression was very serious. After they left, Uncle Jiang walked in front of us. Xiao Li, are you okay? I shook my head. Then let's go upstairs. Uncle Jiang led us upstairs. Duan Mukei's expression was very serious the whole time. Looking at his thoughtful expression, I knew he was worried about what LV Sishue had said. I only held Duan Mukei's hand and smiled at him. I didn't want him to feel too burdened. We entered the private room. All the people present were the management of the branch. There were also bosses and people in charge of various industries under Red Minghui. After everyone was seated, Uncle Jiang introduced me to them one by one. They also gave me a simple report on the future development of Red Minghui. During the whole time, Duan Mukei's mood wasn't very good. He lowered his head and ate sullenly. I was worried about him. While everyone was happily chatting with each other, I found an excuse to bring Duan Mukei out. I asked the waiter to find a lounge for the two of us. After we entered the lounge, Duan Mukei sat on the sofa in a daze. I lovingly stroked his hair. What's wrong? I feel you're out of spirits. I took his face in my hands and kissed him on the cheek. Chapter 23. Duan Mukei didn't answer me. He just sighed deeply. Don't be sad and tell me. It's hard to keep it in. I sat down beside him and put my arm through his and leaned my head on his shoulder. Duan Mukei thought for a moment. About 2 years ago, I met LV Sishue at a bar. At that time, she was still a fresh graduate. Later, I found out that she was a very good student. I heard that she was about to go abroad to study and get into a postgraduate program. That day, they had come to Shallow Bar to celebrate their graduation. It was her first time there. Her friends were all in pairs, and she was the only one left. A few hooligans went over to tease her and made her drink too much. That day, I happened to be there with a few friends. After all, it was my own place. I saw that they were making trouble, so I went over to help her out. After that, I drank too much. My buddies arranged a hotel for me. When I woke up the next morning, I found her naked on my bed. "And then you two got together?" I asked softly. "No." When she woke up and saw that scene, she hugged her blanket and cried. I asked her questions, but she didn't answer. Later, I called my friends and found out that they saw me helping her. They thought that I was interested in her, so they found an excuse to put her on my bed. Later, I told her what happened and was about to leave. She hugged me and didn't let go. She wanted me to take responsibility for her. I was in a hurry to leave, so I gave her a business card and a stack of money. I thought that was the end of it, but she came to my workplace and insisted on meeting me. I was afraid that things would get out of hand, so I agreed to meet her. So she's not a simple woman. Did she use that to blackmail you? No. She told me that it was her first time. She said that if I didn't marry her, she didn't want to live. I refused several times, but she made a big fuss. My father almost found out about it. I had no choice but to agree to meet her. But I really didn't feel anything for her. After being together for less than a month, I couldn't take it anymore. So I proposed a peaceful breakup. That day, she looked quite calm, so I thought it was fine. But that night, I received a call from her roommate, saying that she had slit her wrists and committed suicide. She had been sent to the hospital. When I saw that the matter had blown up, I hurried to the hospital. She had really slit her wrists. Later, I stayed with her in the hospital for a few days. Her parents also came from their hometown. When they saw their daughter lying there, they dragged me and asked me to take responsibility for her. Since the hospital was owned by the Kurosawa, my father knew about it. Of course, he gave me a good beating. How did it end? Later, my father came forward and paid a large sum of money, which could be considered to have suppressed this matter. However, I heard that she changed completely after the incident. She didn't go abroad to study. Instead, she spent all her time in nightclubs. I saw her a few times in bars. 2 years ago, there was an incident in a bar. It was said that a drunk girl was gang-raped in the bathroom of the bar. I heard from the waiter that it was LV Sishua. I haven't seen her since, until today. I nodded thoughtfully. It seems that you have a big influence on her. But the man standing next to her today doesn't look like someone to be trifled with. Just as we were thinking about this matter, the door to the lounge was pushed open and Uncle John came in. Uncle John looked at us and laughed out loud. "I was wondering where you two went. It turns out you were here to be lovey-dovey." Uncle John closed the door. "Uncle John, don't tease us. We were talking about LV Sishua and that man." I made a face at Uncle John. "Oh, you mean Wang Meng?" Uncle John pulled a stool and sat in front of us. "That man is very famous in this area." "Uncle John, so you know him. Then who is he?" "Wang Meng is a Chinese gangster in this area. He has a strange personality, but he has his own style of doing things. He has a lot of brothers under him. In the past, our Red Ming Hui wanted him to join, but he refused." I furrowed my brows. "He has such a bad temper. Does he want to go against us?" "That's not the case. I know of a few of the larger associations that have invited him, but he has refused all of them. I've also asked around, and he wants to form his own association. In the past, some local gangsters in America tried to cause trouble for them. We also sent people to help, so our relationship can be considered good. I can only say that it's not bad, but it's not bad either." Duan Muke nodded. "It seems that he's a good person." Uncle Jiang shook his head. "He used to be very good, but now he's changed. It should be said that after the woman by his side came, he changed. His temper became more and more irritable. If his subordinates didn't do well, he would directly beat them violently. Some of them were even beaten until they were disabled. Gradually, the people's hearts also scattered. Many people left, and now there are not many left by his side. What? That LV Sishua is so powerful? I stood up, but Duamu K pulled me back to sit down. She's very capable. When the local police tried to cause trouble for Wang Meng, she helped him solve a lot of problems. That's why Wang Meng relies on her a lot. But I've heard that her achievements were all obtained by selling her body. Uncle Jiang looked at Duanmu Quebec. I saw her say something to you. Did you two know each other? Duanmu K looked at me. Then he told Uncle Jiang about his past with LV Sishua. Uncle Jiang frowned. After thinking for a long time, he suddenly said, Shaoli, I think you and Xiao Kei should go somewhere else for your honeymoon. I think she might do something bad to you. I shook my head. Uncle Jiang, we're not going anywhere. I don't believe she can do anything. Besides, we're a big red Minghui. Why should we be afraid of them? Uncle Jiang nodded thoughtfully. How about this? If you two go out to play, let me know in the future. If you meet anyone suspicious, or if something happens, call me immediately. I'll send a few people to keep an eye on Wang Meng. If it doesn't work, I'll ask him to come over and ask him. Duanmu K pulled Uncle Jiang's hand. Uncle Jiang, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I've caused you trouble. Uncle Jiang patted Duanmu K's shoulder. Child, this is what you should do. Don't blame yourself. You and Shaoli are here, so I have an obligation to protect you. Besides, I'm responsible for your parents, right? Duanmu K smiled and nodded. You're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.